4181, 4181. Chapter 4181, Just Choose Him. The shockwave originated from the heart of the great wilderness and quickly spread across the entire origin ancestral land, then outward through the entire domain. Every world in the domain quaked and thundered. Countless cultivators, unaware of the cause, thought some great disaster was imminent. 200 years later, only a few remained in the great wilderness. All the Tao lords had departed, and only old Yinhead and Anyuyan, the last two Eternals, were still present. With no need to guard the origin ancestral land anymore, they were free to pursue their own affairs. Old Yinhead lingered because he wanted to observe Lin Moyu's arrangement of the formations. Although much of it was beyond his comprehension, that didn't stop him from appreciating and learning from it. As for Anyuyan, she never said why she stayed, but it was clear to anyone who saw. At this moment, both looked toward the center of the wilderness, where raging winds exposed a previously hidden space. There, they saw a colossal statue that now towered beyond measure. The Tao cloud around the statue had been entirely dispersed. Even with their sharp vision, they could not see its summit. It was as if its top stretched beyond the domain itself. From the statue radiated a terrifying power, far beyond eternity, farther than the domain's limits, reaching into an entirely new realm. Anyuyan softly asked, "What's happening?" Lin Moyu replied, "Candle Dragon is about to transcend." Old Yinhead was startled. Transcendence. Wasn't that the ultimate pursuit, the final goal for beings like them? Their last step was for this very purpose. He could hardly believe Candle Dragon was achieving it. Anyuyan couldn't help but exclaim in disbelief, "He's really going to transcend." Lin Moyu spoke calmly, "Don't be surprised. We cultivators have our last step. Naturally Candle Dragon does as well. Heaven's rules are fair. Transcendence is an opportunity for all beings, not just living creatures." That was right. Candle Dragon did it his way, preparing for countless years, and is finally achieving transcendence. This sets an example for us, gives us a goal to pursue. Lin Moyu's words were uplifting and filled Anyuyan and old Yinhead with hope and determination. In the Ungduan Mountains, some departed Eternals reappeared, their gazes piercing the wilderness to see the sky-reaching Candle Dragon statue. Though they were far away, it felt as if the statue stood directly before them. The Candle Dragon statue was no longer a mere statue, but some unspeakably great being, radiating overwhelming power that could only be admired from afar. It began a slow ascent into the sky, as if a divine dragon was preparing to soar through the void. Lin Moyu knew that Candle Dragon was leaving the Five Worlds domain. Using the essence of the soul-devouring Spirit King as a catalyst, Candle Dragon had provoked a further evolution in the filth power, eventually allowing his strength to surpass the domain's limits and touch the next realm. But transcendence is never so simple. He still had to face the trial of the soul-devouring spirits. Common ones would pose no threat to Candle Dragon, but a soul-devouring spirit emperor was another matter. Its powers, more real than even hallucination, filled Lin Moyu with dread for Candle Dragon's prospects. Suddenly, Candle Dragon's voice sounded in Lin Moyu's soul, "I'm about to transcend. This journey's fate is unknown. If I succeed, I'll enter chaos and gain freedom. If I fail, I'll be annihilated. No matter the outcome, I will be gone. Once I leave, this domain will select a new rules manager. Don't become the manager yourself. Though it brings great power, it's only greater shackles. And don't let your enemies become the rules manager, either. I left behind the means to access the domain's core, but how to become the domain lord, I do not know. You must figure it out yourself." Lin Moyu took out the dragon scale Candle Dragon had given him before. It shimmered as a layer of seals lifted. Within was the method to enter the domain core. Candle Dragon had clearly anticipated his own transcendence and handed Lin Moyu the key in advance. "If fate allows, let's meet again in chaos." Finishing his last words, the statue finally left the domain. The tremors faded, and the Tao cloud slowly rolled back in, shrouding the area again. Anyuyan asked, "Did Candle Dragon really finish transcending?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "There's still one last trial ahead. It's too soon to tell." Gazing at the dragon scale, he sensed that it could reveal Candle Dragon's fate. It wouldn't be long before he knew the outcome. Using his soul to connect with the scale, he learned the method to enter the domain core. "As I thought, world fortune is the key." According to Candle Dragon's method, the fortune of heaven and earth was the key to the domain core. Without enough fortune, entering would be far more difficult. The dragon scale also recorded Candle Dragon's understanding of the world's laws, not true laws, but his interpretation. Once Candle Dragon departed, with no rules manager, the laws would automatically pick a new manager. There's no pattern to the selection, but possessing enough world fortune can influence the outcome. Once chosen as rules manager, one gains supreme authority slightly stronger than eternity, nearly at half transcendence. Because they can wield the laws of the world, not even a half-step transcendent could truly contend with them. If a foe were chosen, Lin Moyu would face serious trouble himself. At the same time, he couldn't be manager either, it would be too binding and make his path forward much harder. While continuing to arrange formations, Lin Moyu mused, who should be chosen as the rules manager? He decided to influence the world's choice, steering it towards someone trustworthy perhaps among his relatives or friends, any of whom could fill the role. The wide array of choices made the decision difficult, but after considering pros and cons, he finally decided, it must be him. Having chosen, Lin Moyu glanced at the dragon scale. A day had passed since Candle Dragon's departure. The scale's aura was intact, meaning Candle Dragon was safe. By Lin Moyu's reckoning, within 2 more days, the matter would be settled. 2 days would suffice for Candle Dragon to break free from the soul-devouring spirit's encirclement, enter the chaos, endure its baptism, and ultimately achieve transcendence. Lin Moyu continued setting up formations. The soulless beast was already purifying the final royal pool. Once complete, all 108 royal pools would be purified. The filth beasts would vanish from the world forever. The array Lin Moyu was building already wrapped around the great wilderness, extending inward and soon reaching the first filth pool. He purposely slowed, waiting for the soulless beast to finish purifying the last royal pool. Then, the world would undergo a fundamental change. 2 days passed without event. But on the 5th day after Candle Dragon's departure, the world shook again. The Tao cloud churned with fury, exposing gaping holes as Tao energy poured down like waterfalls. All Tao lords and eternals sensed an indescribable chaos. The great Tao was in turmoil, the world itself thrown into confusion. Lin Moyu gazed at the dragon scale in his hand. It shone with intense brilliance, its intricate designs clearly visible. 4182. 4182. Chapter 4182, An Experiment. The dragon scale gleamed brightly, radiating vibrant vitality. It signaled that Candle Dragon was not only safe but even stronger than before. Congratulations on your transcendence. Until we meet again. Lin Moyu knew Candle Dragon had transcended and entered the chaos. He put away the dragon scale and looked up at the sky. Holes opened one after another in the clouds of the great Tao, and endless heavenly energy cascaded down like waterfalls. The realm's rules and their guardian had departed, and with no one to govern the laws, chaos began to spread. This disruption would last for some time. When it reached its peak, the rules would search for a new manager. Lin Moyu waited for that time to come. He continued arranging formations. Previously, the 108 filth pools had formed a natural array. This could assist in nurturing the wild beasts and refining Tao filth, giving the residue a channel to flow away so it wouldn't accumulate and cause disaster. Now the pools had been purified, yet the natural array still remained. When some pools had been partially purified, their conflicting properties had diminished the array's effectiveness. But with all pools soon to be purified, unity was restored, and the natural array could function at full power once again. This natural array was part of Lin Moyu's plan, a tool to be used well. He placed his own formation over the entire area, covering all 108 pools. Large amounts of Tao filth converged, repeatedly refined and purified by the arrays, transforming into filth power. This filth power was the extreme limit of energy in the realm, yet Lin Moyu still felt something was missing. What was absent was Tao essence. Filth power and Tao essence are the two fundamental forces of the realm's heaven and earth. Using either alone, one could break the realm's limit and achieve transcendence. But to Lin Moyu, both were incomplete. Only by merging these two forces into a unified whole could one attain the truly perfect power, the strongest that could exist in this realm. His formation was designed precisely to unify these powers. Tens of thousands of formations gradually closed in, forming a single entity. The refined filth gathered at the center of the array, but after all these years, there was only enough to make a sphere the size of a baby's fist. At this time, the soulless beast's purification was also nearly complete. The final royal pool was about to be purified. Lin Moyu soared high above and distanced himself from the array, as activating it would cause a huge upheaval. No one could predict what might happen when the two fundamental forces merged, so for safety, he kept well away. And Yuyan joined him. What is this array for? She couldn't understand it, but since Lin Moyu was always busy, she hadn't disturbed him until he'd stopped. Old Yin had pricked up his ears. He understood the basics of a few arrays, but when they were all combined, he was lost. Driven by his fascination with formations, he was desperate to know their use. Lin Moyu didn't hesitate to explain. There are two fundamental forces in the world: Yang is Tao essence, Yin is filth power. When combined, they become the foundation of heaven and earth. When heaven and earth first opened, this fundamental force evolved into all the myriad Taos, which then birthed Yin and Yang. Tao essence is Yang, used for our cultivation. Filth is Yin, and when it disperses it becomes Tao residue, the origin of the wild beasts. Now, I use this formation to refine Tao residue, letting it return to its root and become filth power again. Then, through purified pools in the array, I condense Tao essence. Finally, by merging them, I restore the original fundamental force of the world. After this explanation, both listeners understood. But old Yin had another question. Taoist Lin, that answers a lot for me, but do you know what's with the soul-devouring spirits? Since he'd explained so much, Lin Moyu went on, the realm was born from chaos. That chaos splits into two. One is the fundamental power we just discussed, it separates into Yin and Yang, evolving all things. The other becomes realm force, forming the world's boundaries and so on. Realm force also splits into Yin and Yang, forming domain walls and the soul-devouring spirits. Normally, the soul-devouring spirits are just realm impurities, but they're also the last and hardest trial on the road to transcendence. And Yuyan was astonished. I thought the last step was the hardest. Lin Moyu shook his head. Just my opinion, but the last step isn't as hard as overcoming the soul-devouring spirits. Especially the soul-devouring spirit king. It's bizarre and unpredictable. I've fought it before and nearly died. Old Yin had gasped. If even Lin Moyu had nearly died, what hope would they have against such a foe? And Yuyan wasn't interested in the last step now, but instead asked, so what good comes of merging these into the fundamental force? Lin Moyu said, mostly for research. I'm fascinated by these things and want to start from the foundation. And Yuyan seemed to understand. Lin Moyu had once mentioned this in passing, and she asked no more. Old Yin was more direct. Hope Taoist Lin gets something out of it. Lin Moyu chuckled, just an experiment. There are many things in heaven and earth that must go with the flow. If you grasp too much, you might lose more. At last, the soulless beast completed purifying the last royal pool. The natural array fully revived and shifted into motion. This time, the power swirling inside was no longer Tao residue but pure Tao force without any attribute, unlinked to any specific Tao, pure beyond compare. The natural array activated, and Lin Moyu also triggered his own array, channeling that force out for further refinement. It was no different from purifying filth power. The final product was Tao essence. Merging Tao essence and filth power brought them back to their primordial root, the world's foundational force. Threads of Tao essence emerged and touched the filth power. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled. A terrifying power erupted, destroying countless arrays. The violent clash of these two opposing forces unleashed unimaginable destruction, shattering over 1,000 arrays and leveling the land. That was from just a wisp. If there were 100 times more, the great wilderness itself would be flattened. With enough power, even a whole realm could be destroyed. Both Old Yinhead and Yuyan were tongue-tied by the scale of the power, especially its level. It had already surpassed eternity. Fortunately, there wasn't more, or they could have been injured as well. Lin Moyu remained calm. As expected, it's not that easy. Looks like something is missing. And Yuyan instinctively asked, what's missing? Lin Moyu said, a catalyst, I think. With that, he sent forth many divine runes to repair their rays. 4183. 4183. Chapter 4183, The Catalyst Finally Succeeds. The first experiment ended in failure. When the Tao essence clashed with the power of filth, it unleashed a terrifying force that leveled vast stretches of land, destroying thousands of formations Lin Moyu had set up and impacting an area 1,000,000 li wide. The scope might not seem so large within the great wilderness, but the destructive power was immense. If a Tao Lord had been caught in it, they would have been severely wounded if not outright killed. And that was just a tiny portion. Had it been more, even Eternals could not have withstood it. Lin Moyu reflected on the reasons for the failure, replaying every detail of the two powers' contact in his mind, searching for any clue. The need for a catalyst was an instinctive idea, not a final answer. Fortunately, the natural formation formed by the filth pools remained undamaged, as did the array he set up to refine the filth power. Only the fusion array had been damaged, but since Lin Moyu managed the formations in distinct zones and modules, the main experimental site was far from the array's core and thus remained safe. While Lin Moyu worked on formation arrays, the soulless beast continued on to the special pools as instructed, its mission to purify the royal pools now complete. At this point, the soulless beast was extremely powerful, practically equal to the former beast emperors. Lin Moyu felt this was not its final stage, it could still progress further. He'd previously cordoned off the area containing the 9 special pools specifically for the soulless beast. These pools were filled with tremendous amounts of refined Dao filth, far surpassing that of the royal pools. If successful, the 9 special pools would be the soulless beast's stepping stones, making it part of Lin Moyu's greater plan. Meanwhile, holes appeared in the Dao cloud ever faster and on a larger scale. Now, breaches were appearing not just in the origin ancestral land, but in the world mist, and even in the chaotic mists of the virtual world. The chaos in the rules was reaching a peak soon, the world would have to select a new rules manager. Lin Moyu still had things to do before the world chose a new manager, things that could only be done amid the chaos of the rules. The messier, the better. He quickly repaired the damaged formations and began the second experiment. Again, he brought Dao essence and filth power together, but this time with a slight variation. At the point where they touched, he introduced an additional force, the catalyst. He used his own immortality Dao as the catalyst. The immortality Dao contained both the power of life and death, which could also be considered as yin and yang, or void and real. Moreover, the immortality Dao was unusual. Although housed in the realm, its essence surpassed the realm itself. Lin Moyu reasoned that perhaps the immortality Dao, as a catalyst, could help fuse Dao essence and filth power. The Dao essence met the power of life, and there was no conflict. Filth power met the power of death, which naturally corrodes all things. Even filth power was no exception and was weakened. The two different energies then made contact via the immortality Dao. Pop, a soft sound, and the two energies annihilated each other. Fusion again failed. However, unlike before, there was no violent clash. Thanks to the immortality Dao's influence, the two sides were much more harmonious. There's promise, Lin Moyu thought, feeling details at a depth beyond outward appearances. As master of the immortality Dao, he could sense the deeper flow and immediately saw where improvements were needed. He sent Dao essence and filth power in for a third fusion attempt. Again, the immortality Dao was the catalyst, but this time he switched things around. Death power fused with Dao essence, while life power fused with filth power. Death power again corroded the Dao essence, while life power and filth power clashed, partially negating each other before fusing fully. Both powers were weakened, but became gentler in the process. They touched this time. After a few breaths and a soft sound, they annihilated each other once more. Although better than before, Lin Moyu frowned. Despite appearances, Dao essence and filth power weren't merging at all, they were just cancelling each other out. The immortality Dao only made things less violent. There must be something I'm missing, Lin Moyu realized. Returning fundamental forces to their origin wasn't as simple as it seemed. The only way forward was to keep trying. Learning from failures, he believed he would eventually find the root cause. He kept driving his formations, ramping up soul power to the limit, scrutinizing every transition. Fusion after fusion, failure after failure 10 times, 100, 1,000. Yet each result was the same. But Lin Moyu refused to give up. If anything, his eyes grew brighter with every trial. An almost imperceptible hint of a smile appeared on his face. At last, he thought he had found the cause. Another fusion attempt. This time, Lin Moyu moved differently. At the very instant before the two powers made contact, the force of immortality exploded, and the twin powers of life and death simultaneously surpassed their limits and underwent reversal. One feature of the immortality Dao is its affinity for reversal at extremes, allowing it to briefly transcend itself. Seizing this principle, Lin Moyu forced both Dao essence and filth power into a state of reversal and sublimation. Dao essence was driven to such an extreme that it transformed into filth power purer than ordinary filth. Filth power, too, was transformed into Dao essence more refined than before. Once reversed, the two were perfectly equal in both power and purity. The immortality Dao formed a vortex, guiding the two powers to meet at its center. This time, there was no mutual annihilation, they truly fused into one. A tiny light, a half-black, half-white speck, no bigger than a fingernail, appeared at the vortex's heart. Small as it was, it shone brilliantly, dazzling all who saw it. An immense pressure radiated from the light. Old Yin Head and Yuyan were filled with awe, sensing that this speck's level completely suppressed their own. Compared to what they cultivated, this surpassed them by far. So this is the fundamental power of heaven and earth, Old Yin Head sighed with wonder in his ancient eyes. And Yuyan gazed dreamily at the little speck, as if it were the world's most beautiful jewel. Lin Moyu smiled softly, the catalyst has finally succeeded. 4184, 4184. Chapter 4184, in the blink of 500 years. The immortality Tao was the primer. Now, after returning to its roots, it had formed the primordial power of heaven and earth, which itself was also a primer. With this primer, even more primordial power of heaven and earth could be fused. Lin Moyu drew divine runes, setting up another formation, channeling this droplet of primordial heavenly and earthly power into the formation as the core. Then, strands of Tao essence and filth power were drawn into the formation. With the primordial power as the primer, the immortality Tao was no longer needed. The moment the two forces in the formation touched the primordial power, their nature changed, slowly and stably fusing into it, strengthening the primordial force of heaven and earth. The two powers that form the whole realm, primordial power of heaven and earth, and the power of the realm itself, Lin Moyu had managed to extract one of them. This power had not appeared since the dawn of time, its existence was older and of a far higher tier than even the source Tao energy from Source Mountain, almost incomparable. Lin Moyu's ability to create primordial power marked a level far above anyone else. The primordial power of heaven and earth was steadily growing, becoming ever more dazzling and captivating. Its strength increased continuously, but for others, it was only to be admired, never touched. If touched, it would clash with their own power, resulting in instant death and Tao erasure. Even Eternals could fall into dormancy at a mere touch. Its level was simply too high. Except for Lin Moyu, this dazzling gem was in fact lethally dangerous. As Lin Moyu felt its evolving energy, he began to understand how the heavenly Tao evolved, and how everything in existence was constituted. At that moment, he attained a new understanding of the laws of heaven and earth. Faintly, he seemed to see countless invisible fine threads winding throughout the world. Whether in reality or illusion, above or below, these threads were everywhere, sometimes hidden, sometimes appearing, but omnipresent. So these are the rules. Lin Moyu marveled inwardly. After grasping primordial power, he could now see the rules, but only see, he could not touch them. As he looked closer, he saw that in the tangled threads were dense arrays of divine runes. These runes were the fundamental substance of the rules. Everything in the world seemed connected to them. Staring into these filaments and their runes, Lin Moyu gradually saw their true form. Each rune bore its own meaning and was naturally formed, even he could barely imitate them. The true secret of the runes would be found in the core of the realm. He'd need to go there to fully understand. Boom! Heaven and earth quaked, snapping Lin Moyu's consciousness back to the present. At a glance, he saw that the primordial power he'd condensed had grown from fingernail size to the size of an infant's fist. Its volume and strength had both multiplied many times. If this mass of primordial power were put into any world, it could detonate that world to pieces. Even the once mighty source continent would have no chance of survival against it. Its destruction would be total, with all projected Taos, cultivators, and life perishing. Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. The condensation of primordial power was extremely slow. Going from fingernail size to its current state must have taken an immeasurable time. In his previous realization, as he observed the rule filaments and runes, so much time must have passed without him noticing. Boom! Heaven and earth quaked again. This time heavenly fortune descended upon Lin Moyu. The soulless beast had just purified another special filth pool, granting Lin Moyu a surge of fortune. Sensing it, he discovered that 7 of the 9 special filth pools had been purified, only 2 remained. Connecting to the Tao, Lin Moyu discovered that during his insight, 500 years had already passed in the outside world. This was the meaning of, years pass unnoticed in cultivation. For him, it seemed a mere instant, but for the world, 5 centuries had gone by. And Yuyan saw Lin Moyu awaken. Awake, Lin Moyu nodded, didn't expect a bit of enlightenment to cost so many years. And Yuyan smiled. Time means nothing in cultivation. What you call a small enlightenment is a stroke of fortune we could never obtain in countless years. Lin Moyu chuckled, well aware of this truth. He glanced across heaven and earth. The clouds of the Tao were riddled with holes. Not only that, every world was now pocked with gaps. The chaos of the world's rules had reached its limit. The world needed a new administrator. The rules stretched like a massive net, casting about the world in search of a fated one. Lin Moyu murmured, "It's almost time. I'll be leaving for a bit." And Yuyan asked, "Will it be dangerous?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "Not dangerous, at worst just a hassle. Might take some effort." Old Yin Head chuckled. With Taoist Lin's fortune, there's no danger for him in the realm. Even if there is, he'll turn calamity into blessing. Anyone in the realm who opposes him is just courting death. Let's go. With a wave, Lin Moyu gathered the growing mass of primordial power and headed for the heart of the great wilderness. Now the great wilderness was filled with formations anyone but him would find it impassable. For a formation-obsessed cultivator, this was paradise. Old Yin Head could stare at these formations for hundreds of thousands, even millions of years, and never tire. At a lake, Lin Moyu arrived at a special filth pool, where the soulless beast was purifying the 8th pool. The evolution was slow, each one required decades. Sensing Lin Moyu's approach, the soulless beast gave a low growl a greeting. Without a soul, the soulless beast couldn't communicate soul to soul with Lin Moyu, nor could it speak. Thankfully, as his creator, Lin Moyu had other ways to interact with him. Lin Moyu approached. The soulless beast now stood over 5 meters tall, much larger than when it first emerged. "Do you want to be a rules administrator?" The soulless beast stared blankly, not understanding at all. Lin Moyu smiled. "Don't worry, just do as I say." He had always intended the soulless beast to become the rules administrator. As its master, if the soulless beast became administrator, it was as if Lin Moyu himself were administrator. That would let him make convenient use of certain powers, a little exploitation of administrator privileges. But he had another motive. The soulless beast had no soul, but if it became the rules administrator, might the rules bestow one? If so, it would be well worth observing. The soulless beast, still confused, continued purifying the 8th pool. As it worked, the foul Tao dregs became ever purer, the pool steaming, and the mutated beast originally nurtured within vanished in the purifying process. Half a year passed, rule chaos peaked, and even the Tao faltered. Within every world, the Taos grew unstable, cultivators were forced to halt their practice, unable to cultivate amid the chaos. No one knew what was happening, they only believed catastrophe had struck, and panic swept many worlds. The net of rules drew tighter and tighter, its administrator nearly found soon, a chosen one would emerge. At last, a divine rune shot from Lin Moyu's fingertip, activating a formation with a boom. Lin Moyu intoned, "Heavenly fate is key, force of will is lever, open the core." 4185, 4185. Chapter 4185, The First Visitor. The method to enter the core of a domain is somewhat similar to accessing the Gate of Eternity. World Fortune can be used to summon the Gate of Eternity and, using one's own power, open it. When facing the Gate of Eternity, World Fortune is only for summoning. Success still depends on one's actual strength. Entering the domain core is different, not only so much more World Fortune is needed, but a matching formation is required to summon the domain gate. Even after summoning the domain gate, one must use tremendous power combined with even greater World Fortune to truly open it. The amount of World Fortune needed is at least hundreds of times that to summon the Gate of Eternity. Most cultivators, even Eternals, struggle just to summon the Gate of Eternity, let alone the domain gate. In fact, they only ever saw what the domain core looks like thanks to Lin Moyu. Even if the domain gate were summoned, Eternals alone could never open it with their strength. Lin Moyu kept accumulating World Fortune. From the start, he suspected it had a crucial use. When Candle Dragon gave him the method to open the domain gate, he was sure he'd been right. In essence, World Fortune is a kind of recognition the domain world grants to cultivators. Only those acknowledged may open the domain gate. Entering the domain core is, in Lin Moyu's perspective, the first step to becoming the lord of the domain. This time, he was not aiming to become domain lord but only to enter the domain core for a look, and also to do a favor for the soulless beast, letting it become a rules manager, which would lay the groundwork for his next move. A rules manager is a sort of chief steward for the domain, making things much easier for Lin Moyu in the future. He activated the formation, and after accumulating power for half a day, it erupted fully. Lin Moyu poured a massive amount of World Fortune into it. The formation ignited this fortune as fuel, unleashing incredible force. A light shot into the sky, scattering the Tao clouds and slamming into the domain wall. The wall trembled, and a huge gate emerged from within the barrier. The gate was covered in divine runes and rule threads. Behind it was the domain core. He needed even more world fortune and power to wrench this gate open. Lin Moyu had more than enough world fortune, with some to spare. The challenge would be his own strength. The domain gate recognizes only power accepted by the domain, not simply brute strength. Although Lin Moyu could use gather power to reach half-step transcendence, that strength was not recognized and would only see him rejected by the domain. For other Eternals, their best shot would be to comprehend the extremity of their own Tao, perhaps barely managing to force open the domain gate. Lin Moyu had an easier way. He kept pouring more world fortune into the formation, which boomed and, with the world fortune condensed into a heavy fist, struck the domain gate. At the same time, he brought out the fundamental power of heaven and earth, channeling it into another fist to strike the gate in concert with the fortune. It was as if a giant appeared in the world, raising both fists to pound on the gate. Boom! With a thunderous noise, the domain gate was forcibly split open, a crack appearing. A strange, primitive, and savage aura unique to the domain core burst from the crack and swept across the world. This aura originated from the dawn of the world. Besides Candle Dragon, no one had set foot here before. Even Candle Dragon never entered in person. He only sent his soul inside by virtue of his manager's authority. Lin Moyu became the first person to physically open the domain gate and enter the domain core. He appeared atop the soulless beast. "Let's go," he called. The soulless beast, now Lin Moyu's steed, obediently stopped purifying and rushed for the domain gate. As they drew close, mighty gales tried to force them back. Winds from outside the domain tried to prevent entry. The soulless beast glowed, slashing through the storm like a sword and forcing its way in. This was no real test. Anyone who could force open the domain gate would not find these winds troublesome. Inside, all the world fortune in the formation was depleted, shutting the formation down, and the domain gate closed behind them. Inside the domain core, divine runes shimmered everywhere, evolving into vast formations, each connected to every corner and every Tao in the domain, controlling every rule. Even world mist and the void spirit domain were visible here. If one could discern the specific effects of each rune and learn the meaning of every formation, one would realize this was the control center of the whole domain. The countless runic formations cooperated, making the domain run like clockwork. If chaos invaded this place, the whole domain would descend into chaos. Lin Moyu quickly noticed things had become noticeably more chaotic since the last time he visited, ever since the rules manager had been lost. The rules manager was like the chief steward, always tuning the working of the runes and rules, intervening whenever something broke the rules. Without a manager, the rules would inevitably go awry. It was only a matter of how soon. The domain's rules were a precisely wound machine. If one gear failed, it could throw off the whole system. Riding the soulless beast through the formations, Lin Moyu searched for the source of the chaos. He quickly found the core's most chaotic area familiar to him. It was the site of the cursed Tao, which he himself had shattered previously. Originally, there should have been a grand, complex divine rune here, which evolved into an even more complex formation. Its power, flowing through the formation, would manifest the cursed Tao throughout the domain. But Lin Moyu had shattered the cursed Tao, destroying the rune and sending this area into chaos. Though he had borne the consequences at the time, the origin of the chaos had not been eliminated. Candle Dragon had been able to compensate, fine-tuning the rules enough to soothe the turmoil for a while. But with Candle Dragon now transcended, no one remained to correct things, and chaos began to surge unchecked. In less than 1,000 years, the rules of the domain were already seeking a new manager. Otherwise, the chaos could have been put off for millennia more. "So it's still my fault," Lin Moyu muttered in self-mockery, carefully scrutinizing the chaotic zone for clues. Now that he had located the root, the solution was clear. Lin Moyu traced along the threads of the rules and quickly understood the cause. He didn't need anything too troublesome. He had two ways to resolve the chaos. One was to forcibly break these rules with his own power, but that would only be a quick fix and the chaos would soon return. The second was to use world fortune to smooth out and untangle these threads, in which case, under the direction of the domain's rules, he would become the new rules manager. But Lin Moyu didn't want to be the manager. So he chose a third way. 4186. 4186. Chapter 4186, Boyang and Beizong. A faint glow shimmered at Lin Moyu's fingertip, an unusual aura spreading out and illuminating the surrounding void. The area where the cursed Tao had been was now empty, with only tangled, thread-like rules at the origin of chaos. Secret art of all spirits, spirit control. Lin Moyu activated spirit control for the first time, a spell that did not originally belong to the 5 world domains. The glow of spirit control enveloped the soulless beast, linking it seamlessly to Lin Moyu. At that moment, he had total control over every aspect of the soulless beast, its thoughts, actions, and power. The dominance of the spell was absolute. The soulless beast felt like an extension of himself, indistinguishable from his own being. Vast fortune from heaven and earth surged into the soulless beast, swirled within it, then rushed into the chaotic region. The rule threads tangled at the heart of chaos were scattered by this fortune, their entanglement undone. What had been chaos became ordered, and the rules gave immediate feedback. The soulless beast received a flow of information that Lin Moyu saw in parallel. The Tao clouds directly reflected the effect. Holes rapidly decreased, the Taos in every world ceased to swirl in chaos, and the entire realm began trending toward order, as if calamity had passed. Lin Moyu knew the disaster was far from over. Chaos still lingered, only temporarily suppressed. If the soulless beast stopped, or if heaven and earth's fortune vanished, chaos would immediately return, worse than before. With the threads of rules scattered by fortune, the true situation became visible. A tiny vortex spun at the center of the chaos, drawing rule threads together. Lin Moyu stared at it, finding that the vortex could not be fully repaired. Nor was this the only one. Countless vortices existed at the core of the realm, hidden behind divine runes in the deepest core, constantly drawing power from the domain and making it impossible to maintain long-lasting balance. Every so often, an adjustment was needed. Such adjustments had always been the Candle Dragon's job, explaining why he was always so busy. Just this alone was a monumental burden. These vortices were hidden so deeply that if Lin Moyu hadn't destroyed the cursed Tao, he would never have seen one. How could this be? Lin Moyu wondered if the Candle Dragon knew about these vortices. After all, the Candle Dragon entered only in spirit form to adjust rule threads and would likely not touch the divine runes, so he might never have noticed what lay behind them. The more Lin Moyu observed, the more confused he became. He instinctively felt that the natural evolution of a domain should not be like this. However imperfect, such a glaring flaw should not exist. But this was not the time to consider it. Repairing the breach, sorting the rules, and making the soulless beast the new rule manager took priority. Those deeper issues could be explored later. He sent fortune into the vortex, temporarily filling it and weakening its chaos. Only when stable could the rules be sorted, making the domain stable again. This process was delicate, fortune was precious and could not be wasted. It had to be done slowly. Beyond the domain, in chaos, a game of chess raged. Unlike ordinary boards, this one was immense with grids numbering in the tens of thousands. Each move sent wild winds howling through chaos, blowing billions of miles and scattering chaos creatures before it. Only the two players, one in green, one in white, remained near the board. The one in green casually glanced into the void. He saw it. The one in white said, "Of course he did. At this point, to go further is to enter the game itself." The green-robed player shook his head, setting a piece and saying, "He's already in the game." With his wit, how could he not realize? If he couldn't, he wouldn't succeed this time. White nodded, "True, if he can't, this was doomed to fail." The green-robed man sighed, "Even if he knows, I don't know if he'll make it through. I am optimistic this time." White smiled, "I agree, I'm optimistic too." A distant light in chaos rapidly approached. White paused in mid-move. If he finished that play, the visitor would be blown away. "Someone's come for you," he said. Green replied, "Came quickly, things must have gone well." The approaching light expanded and revealed the Candle Dragon, still somewhat flustered, unsure if it was from his swift arrival or something else. As soon as he saw the green-robed elder, he bowed his head, prostrated himself, and greeted, "Greetings, my lord." The green-robed elder chuckled, tapped a finger, and a ray of light fell on the Candle Dragon. He instantly shrank into the form of a middle-aged man. "From now on, this will be your appearance. This is a Tao body, suitable for cultivation," the green elder said. "Thank you, my lord," replied Candle Dragon. The green elder continued, "Now that you've reached the level of chaos, you have the right to know our names. I am Grand Sovereign Boyang, that is Grand Sovereign Beizong." Candle Dragon saluted again. Candle Dragon greets Grand Sovereign Boyang, Grand Sovereign Beizong. Boyang said, "Now that you're here, I'll explain the structure of chaos to you. Once you've adjusted, you'll have a task for me." The Candle Dragon beamed, "Thank you, my lord. I will obey without question." At the core of the 5 world domains, fortune had filled the vortex, its rotation slowed, and it no longer yanked at the rule threads. Fortune, shaped into a hand, organized the threads. Lin Moyu did this through the soulless beast, so it would appear as if the soulless beast alone had done it. Thus, the soulless beast's appointment as the new rule manager would be taken for granted. Organizing the rules was not difficult, just tedious and time-consuming. Multitasking, Lin Moyu sorted the rules and closely studied the divine runes and their relationship to the vortices. Gradually, he noticed a clue. Heaven and earth fortune gather within the divine runes, which manifest as the Taos. Each Tao contains countless cultivators, who not only draw power from the Tao themselves but also return some of their cultivated power to it. The more cultivators there are and the higher their cultivation, the greater the contribution. All these contributions accumulate through the Taos, entering the divine runes, which then convert this collective strength into fortune and pour it into the vortex. In other words, the vortices are constantly absorbing the domain's power and the power of countless cultivators. Lin Moyu's soul was gripped by a chill. These vortices aren't natural, someone put them here, but who could lay out such a design at the core of the domains? His instincts pointed to the green and white robed figures but, on reflection, they had no reason to do this. It's not them, there's no need for them to do so. 4187, 4187. Chapter 4187, All Origins Lie in Chaos. According to what Lin Moyu knew, both the two figures in green and white robes should be grand sovereigns of heaven and earth. They wouldn't need to go through complicated means, just a wave of their hand could obliterate the entire world domain. If they desired anything from this realm, again, just a gesture and all within the domain, its power, its beings, would belong to them. Everything Lin Moyu considered, every strength or entity inside the realm, would struggle to resist them. Yet, those two, one appeared from time to time, leaving many traces throughout history, a notorious figure known to countless powerful beings. The other, the white-robed elder, created the ancestral water, and was known to others as well. Thus, after thinking it through, Lin Moyu was nearly certain that the vortex in the heart of the world was not the work of those two. If someone could do such a thing, they probably weren't grand sovereigns yet, perhaps a transcendent, or a being from chaos, or even a domain lord. Only they would go to such lengths. But with the green and white-robed elders in the realm, whoever tampered here would undoubtedly be discovered by them. If they did not intervene, Lin Moyu suspected the culprit might already be another pawn in the schemes of these two. He was a pawn, the other was a pawn, and now even pawns were pitted against each other. Whoever won would survive, whoever lost would perish, which was likely exactly what those old guys wanted to see. Such trouble, Lin Moyu sighed inwardly. It was deeply unpleasant to be anyone's pawn, but he had no options now. Only by gaining formidable power could he jump from pawn to chess player. His gaze became heavy as he murmured to himself, I've played most of this game already, every trap broken, every challenge met. The step that remains before I leap off this chessboard won't trap me much longer. When I break free, just you wait, old men. Lin Moyu would not let the green-robed elder off easy, merely taking his wife was already unforgivable. Whatever the reasons behind it, debts must be repaid. Multitasking, Lin Moyu pondered these issues while continuing to untangle the strands of rules. The soulless beast, under his control, used the world's fortune as a giant hand and had almost finished sorting out the tangled strands of rules. The next stage required even more painstaking work, following each strand to its source, entangling all those already in chaos. Lin Moyu had patience, no rush, entangling each chaotic rule one by one. After 100 days, the rules were no longer confused, at least for now. He laughed self-deprecatingly, seems I have a real knack for being a rules administrator. Boom! From the core of the world came a rumble, a few divine runes in the very center suddenly lit up. Immediately, threads of world fortune descended upon the soulless beast, and countless strands of rule wrapped around it. The soulless beast had no soul and had always been unable to bear the world's fortune. But this time was different, the world's fortune poured into the soulless beast. Lin Moyu cut off his spiritual control and told the soulless beast, don't resist, don't move. Obediently, the soulless beast allowed the fortune to enter its body and the rule strands to wrap it up. Few could perceive rules in this world. Aside from Candle Dragon, Lin Moyu was the only one who could see those threads. In everyone else's eyes, the soulless beast was just lying there quietly, but Lin Moyu saw it cocooned in countless rule strands. The strands were numerous and intricate, but not chaotic. To Lin Moyu's amazement, under the combined force of fortune and rules, a spark appeared inside the formerly soulless beast. The spark swiftly turned into flame, none other than the flame of the soul's birth. It turned out the world, via fortune and its rules, was granting the soulless beast a reward from the world itself, letting it become truly sentient. The process was akin to granting a stone a soul and making it wise. Lin Moyu didn't dare blink, watching every moment. The creation of a soul is the creation of true life, something he had been pursuing all along. This chance was unbelievably rare, and the soulless beast's innate link with him allowed Lin Moyu to feel everything clearly. Layer after layer, the power of the rules, delicate and gentle, wrapped around the soulless beast like a mother. The beast clearly enjoyed it, lying peacefully as if in deep sleep. Slowly, Lin Moyu began to perceive the essence of this process. The fortune and rules contained a seed of the most primitive power. He analyzed. The two powers making up a world were fundamental world force and domain force. The former transformed into all Taos and life within the domain, the latter into the barrier and shell of the world. One worked within, one without. These two together formed the entire domain's foundation. Both fundamental and domain force, Lin Moyu realized, came from chaos. Now, his understanding of the world deepened. These coupled forces cooperated to shape the rules and were infused together within the core of the world, present also in fortune. Joined together, they returned to their source, chaos itself. The realization dawned. The power of the world, the power to create life, both come from chaos. It seems chaos is the fundamental source of everything. To further perceive the process of life's creation, he would have to interact with chaos. There were two known methods. Complete the final step, transcend, and enter chaos. Complete the final step and, at the same time, become master of a domain, bringing the world itself into chaos. Lin Moyu would naturally choose the latter. Without the domain as foundation, even in chaos, understanding life's birth would be difficult. The process of becoming master of the 5 world realms and master of the Great Thousand World was only a matter of steps. Lin Moyu wanted to know both what and why, to understand, and to comprehend the reason. With his goal clear, he now had to plan how to become the real master of the domain. Meanwhile, the soul in the soulless beast was stabilizing, growing under the nurture of the rules, requiring no further intervention from him. Lin Moyu flew deeper toward the world's core, hoping to investigate its deepest secrets. He didn't disturb the vortex behind the divine runes, yet better to let sleeping dragons lie, and revisit it once he had become the true master of the domain. 4188. 4188. Chapter 4188. The Shadow in the Depths. Passing through the divine rune formations, Lin Moyu finally reached the deepest core of the realm. Here, the density and complexity of the divine runes far exceeded those of the outer layers. The runes here no longer represented individual Taos. This was the very heart of the realm, and the arrays formed by these runes represented the fundamental rules of the entire realm. Countless rules combined to maintain the normal operation of the realm, and immense world fortune permeated this place. Upon close inspection, Lin Moyu saw that a few of the rune arrays were actually breathing. A space would fracture with each exhale and swiftly absorb with each inhale, drawing in great currents of chaotic energy. If I'm not mistaken, this array connects to the land of severed Taos, so this chaotic energy comes from there. Why didn't the rune array draw directly from chaos? It was to protect the realm's core, so they transferred it via the land of severed Taos. Starting from these arrays, Lin Moyu observed other rune formations. Some arrays would convert and refine the absorbed chaotic energy, transforming it into power compatible with the realm before distributing it to other runes. If the realm were a precision machine, this place would be its heart. Of the entire realm's operation depended on these few runes for power. To destroy this realm, one would merely need to shatter these runes. The realm would then descend into chaos and, within a few millennia, collapse entirely. Suddenly, Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed. There it was. Behind an array that absorbed chaotic energy lurked a shadowy figure. The shadow was hidden so cleverly that even Lin Moyu only noticed after careful scrutiny. Its presence confirmed his suspicion as someone had tampered with the core of the realm. After some observation, Lin Moyu understood. It was not a real body, nor even a soul avatar, but a mere will or imprint. Its purpose was to absorb world fortune from the 5 world realms. Clearly, this entity had been treating the 5 realms as a long-term source of fortune, absorbing an immeasurable amount over the years. By Lin Moyu's estimate, about 1% of the realm's accumulated fortune had gone to this entity, an enormous amount over countless years. What's more, this entity likely left imprints in other realms, gathering even greater fortune. For a being who had already transcended, why bother with the world fortune from within a realm? Perhaps because world fortune contained traces of primordial energy, refined, purified chaos. Still, Lin Moyu thought the quantity was negligible. Strange. If he wanted chaos, wouldn't it be easier to draw it directly from chaos itself? Unable to reason it out, Lin Moyu circled the shadow at a distance, unable to discern its appearance but memorizing its aura, in case they met in chaos. One dia he wanted to ask directly. Moreover, while this mark absorbed chaotic energy, there were also vortexes below some runes, also absorbing fortune. Where did that fortune go, and who received it? Another mystery. Lin Moyu had been beyond the realm and had not discovered anything lurking outside, a fact he was now certain of. The Candle Dragon had been the rules manager for countless years, yet knew less about the realm's core than Lin Moyu gained from this short visit. Suddenly, Lin Moyu stepped back several paces into a formation and hid his presence. The shadow he was watching suddenly showed a pair of eyes, turning to look his way. Lin Moyu's quickness saved him from being detected. Moments later, the shadow returned to normal and became still again. This guy is sharp, Lin Moyu noted. If I want to become master of the realm, he'll definitely not see I'm sure that will cause trouble. No matter who you are, if you dare block my way, I'll tear you to shreds. Resolute in heart, Lin Moyu was never deterred by obstacles, rather, challenges only fueled his determination. He left and moved on to observe other regions, gradually uncovering the entire core structure of the realm. He concluded the core has several layers. The innermost layer provides energy for the entire realm and contains its most fundamental rules. The next layer outward corresponds to the Taos within the origin land. For example, the cursed Tao destroyed by Lin Moyu was housed here. In this layer, every Tao except the immortality Tao had a rune representing it. To destroy a Tao in the origin land, one had to eventually break its rune here. The third layer outward corresponds to the Tao essences in the source ancestral land. However, the connection between these Tao essences and the runes is weak. If a Tao essence in the source land collapses, its rune here shatters too, without needing to enter the core. As this is the outer layer, its stability barely impacts the core. Only massive destruction would destabilize the realm, so destroying just a few Taos was not enough to severely disrupt it. The outermost region's runes symbolize individual worlds, with each rune's formation carrying a Tao essence projection. It's unclear which came first to the world or the runea, but being outermost, their rise or fall hardly affects the core's stability unless thousands collapse at once. Once he grasped the structure, Lin Moyu knew how to proceed. To become master of the realm meant mastering these runes. To master the runes, he would need to refine them. Understanding their nature was the first step. Luckily, he was especially gifted in this area. Confident, Lin Moyu believed that with enough time, he could succeed. Master. Suddenly, Lin Moyu received a message from the soulless beast. Its soul had fully evolved. Now imbued with intelligence, it could communicate at last. Flying over, Lin Moyu sensed a new aura in the soulless beast, similar to that of the Candle Dragon. As he expected, the soulless beast had become the realm's new rule manager. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Ko-Fi is now working. Special shout out to Roger for donating. Thanks a bunch. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Also, if anyone wants to join my Discord URL. Asterisk 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 4189, 4189. Chapter 4189, The New Rule Administrator. The soulless beast has gained a soul and, even more, has become the rule administrator, an identity and status entirely different from before. He is still unfamiliar with the rules, but once acclimated, and able to manipulate them, he will be able to exert strength surpassing an eternal. However, his own power is still not sufficient. In Lin Moyu's view, the soulless beast's true strength has just reached the level of eternity, not much different from other eternals. Compared to his predecessor, he's still somewhat lacking. The Candle Dragon, after all, surpassed other Eternals and was infinitely close to half-step transcendence. Once he manipulated the rules, he could battle a half-step transcendent. Strengthening oneself further means the rules one commands also become stronger, in turn amplifying battle power. Within the realm, the rule administrator's power is second only to the master of the domain. The soulless beast is just a bit short for now. Lin Moyu has a way to address this, and it's quite simple. Despite becoming rule administrator, the soulless beast still submits to Lin Moyu, remaining his mount and subordinate. This will not change. The myriad spirit's secret art is not a joke, it is a secret art on par with the realm's rules. Once successful, even realm rules cannot interfere. Lin Moyu stood atop the soulless beast, traversing the core of the realm. The soulless beast grew more familiar with its authority, able to control the divine runes to a limited extent, though only able to manipulate them slightly. Using his authority, Lin Moyu left fragments of his soul within various divine runes. These souls would evolve into avatars, analyze, and then refine the runes. Becoming master of the realm is not achieved overnight, it takes time, but Lin Moyu is patient, refining the runes one by one, being careful not to disturb the shadow or interfere with the vortex behind the divine runes. He wanted the core of the realm to appear unchanged on the surface, but to be completely different within. By the time anyone noticed, he would already wholly control the realm's core. Even if he hadn't yet become realm master, he would at least have command over most of the realm's divine runes. Combined with the soulless beast, he would even be able to confront a transcendent. Lin Moyu is wary of transcendence, but not afraid. He has once stepped into that realm. If he truly had to face a transcendent, he could still enter that state to fight. Victory wouldn't be certain, but neither would he let his opponent off easily. He knows his own trump card. To have no fear of death is his greatest strength. A flash of violet light. Lin Moyu completed another rebirth. He had split his soul too many times, so many that his main soul was damaged. He simply chose suicide, using rebirth to recover his soul, then continued separating spirit. After more than a dozen rebirths, he had evolved 1,000 avatars, each entering different divine runes. Lin Moyu knew this was his limit, multitasking any further was impossible. Let's go. Following Lin Moyu's order, the soulless beast opened a passage, leaving the realm core. With such an administrator, returning would never be so troublesome again. The soulless beast could open the way at any time. Back in the great wilderness, Lin Moyu said to the soulless beast, "Go purify the last 2 special filth pools, then we'll make you even stronger." The soulless beast obeyed, going to purify the special pools. As rule administrator, it had grown even stronger, and its purification speed was faster than ever. Lin Moyu connected his awareness to the various formations in the wilderness. With a thought, some of the operating formations halted immediately. The formations around the filth pools stopped refining Tao essence and began running in reverse, channeling the refined filth back into the pools. Pools purified by the soulless beast were once again polluted by the incoming filth. The pure power once in the pools, agitated by the filth, underwent a leap, becoming even more contaminated. This approach is similar to how the beast emperors reverted purified pools back to filth. The means are different, the result is the same. Once the soulless beast finishes with the special pools, it will go back and repurify the repolluted pools, thus strengthening itself again. This method is simple and effective. Lin Moyu estimated that only one round of purification would make the soulless beast strong enough to rival the heavens. This little being, originally evolved from Tao essence, has innate advantages far greater than regular cultivators. After all this, Lin Moyu's consciousness once more entered a deep focus, commanding the soul avatars left in the realm's core to familiarize themselves with, and refine, the divine runes. Lin Moyu's talent for grasping runes shines. He learns quickly, needing no guidance, and rapidly comprehends each rune's meaning and use, then devises ways to refine them. He was very careful not to disturb the vortex hidden behind the runes during the process. Days slipped by, a century passing in the blink of an eye. After 100 years, the soulless beast finally completed 2 rounds of refining. All 108 filth pools had been purified again and completely drained. Now, the pools were in recovery, which would take a long time without external aid. Even thousands of years might not suffice. During this period, Lin Moyu could not merge new fundamental world powers. The soulless beast, clever as ever, used its control over realm rules to channel Tao power into the pools, speeding up their recovery, thus needing only 300 to 500 years for the pools to revive. Lin Moyu sat in meditation for 100 years, finally understanding the meanings of 1,000 divine runes and successfully refining them. 1,000 divine runes, in the context of the whole realm's core, are just a fraction, but the ones Lin Moyu chose were special. Their positions echoed one another and, connected through filaments of rule, could form a great formation together. After waking, Lin Moyu found the soulless beast crouched at his feet. In truth, its huge body filled his whole view. Sensing that Lin Moyu had awakened, the soulless beast immediately retreated 2 steps and lay down respectfully. Lin Moyu could sense the beast had grown stronger. His plan had succeeded and, through his formation, he also knew the pools were recovering. He well understood that the soulless beast was responsible for this. With a soul, it was clearly much smarter than before. Transform into human form, Lin Moyu ordered. The beast instantly shifted into a youth clad in animal skins. Other than somewhat odd skin, it looked no different from a normal man. Lin Moyu was quite pleased. Are you busy at the moment? The soulless beast respectfully answered, sometimes I'm very busy. Whenever realm rules have issues, I must handle them immediately, or minor problems could become serious ones. This is his duty. The soulless beast cannot shirk it. Lin Moyu said, it seems you're becoming more familiar with the rules. Good, having you manage the realm will keep things peaceful. The soulless beast replied, Master, I sense something isn't right. The realm shouldn't be having so many problems, but I can't find the cause. Do you know where the problem is? Lin Moyu guessed it had to do with those vortices and the shadow. The vortex shadow kept draining the realm's strength, destabilizing it, which caused these disturbances. Lin Moyu said, this will all be settled eventually. Open a passage. I'm heading to the realm core. 4190, 4190. Chapter 4190, The Candle Dragon's Dwelling. With the soulless beast, things indeed became much easier. There was no need to rely on heaven and earth's fortune or array formations to summon the door to the domain core, nor was it necessary to exhaust all one's strength just to open the gate. The soulless beast directly employed the rules, opening the gate to the domain core. Now, the domain core had truly become Lin Moyu's backyard. He could come and go as he pleased. Upon entering the domain core again, Lin Moyu selected another 1,000 divine sigils and left behind soul avatars of himself. The previous 1,000 sigils had already been refined. This time, his selections were again made with great care. Once finished, Lin Moyu promptly left the domain core, not lingering. As Lin Moyu prepared to guide his soul avatars in understanding and refining the sigils, the soulless beast quietly spoke, Master, there's a place you need to see. What place? Lin Moyu asked. The soulless beast thought for a moment and replied, it seems to be the former domain manager's home. The candle dragon had left, but his dwelling still remained. Now that the soulless beast was the new domain manager, the candle dragon's former residence naturally passed into his possession. Lin Moyu said, all right, let's take a look. He was indeed curious about what kind of place the candle dragon once lived in. The candle dragon was always a mysterious existence. No one ever knew where he lived. He could use the rules to appear anywhere in an instant and often revealed only a giant eye. That eye contained authority over the rules. When closed, darkness fell across the world. When open, it brought light, demonstrating unparalleled supremacy. The soulless beast opened a spatial passageway, and Lin Moyu stepped inside, following along the corridor. Space was folded and compressed. Each step in the passage crossed millions of li. The soulless beast explained, the former residence is at the other end of the origin ancestral land. There's an independent space there. I've been a few times, and it always felt a bit strange, with things I couldn't understand. Having not been domain manager for long, the soulless beast had much yet to learn. He was nothing like the ancient candle dragon who had existed since the beginning of the world. When in doubt, it was only natural for him to ask his master Lin Moyu for help. Soon they reached the end of the spatial corridor, a stretch of void. In that void, countless primordials floated, drifting amid the emptiness. There were yin primordials and yang primordials. Lin Moyu realized he'd been here before. His first arrival at the origin ancestral land had deposited him in a pitch-black void, where he'd obtained yin and yang primordials, the foundation of his great thousand world and a critical step in his cultivation path. He was surprised to discover this was the candle dragon's residence, albeit not exactly the same location, but within the same void. Lin Moyu surveyed the area. The yin and yang primordials here were as numerous as stars. Not only primordials, but also living beings populated the space. All these beings were born from the primordials. Some from a single primordial, others from a mix, with different numbers and unbalanced properties. The resulting creatures were strangely shaped and varied. In Lin Moyu's eyes, it was utter chaos. But it was evident the candle dragon cared deeply about the origin of life, conducting experiments here. Most notably, there were no rules in this place. The candle dragon had shielded it from the influence of rules, using his own methods to investigate the origin of life. Yet, evidently, he'd made little progress. When he learned Lin Moyu wished to study life's origin, the candle dragon was shocked and even cautioned him not to waste the effort. "Master, the strange thing is ahead," the soulless beast said. Its overwhelming aura kept all these beings at bay, many even prostrated themselves in respect. They crossed the sea of primordials to where the soulless beast indicated. Lin Moyu saw a colossal boulder, a kilometer wide, perfectly cubical with 6 faces. "That's a innate primordial treasure material." Lin Moyu was startled. Obtaining a block of this size was exceedingly rare. Then he realized that the candle dragon hadn't found it, he had made it, using these primordial beings. He kept them for 2 reasons, to study the origin of life and to refine them into innate primordial treasures. Primordial beings are innately associated with primal elements, and by refining them, the candle dragon could manufacture treasures of primal origin. Focusing on this cube, Lin Moyu noticed formation markings etched onto each side. These were the same as the formations in the domain core. The soulless beast wondered, why would he do this? Lin Moyu pondered but could only guess. Only he knows for sure, but the candle dragon never did anything without purpose. Since you are his successor, maybe consider what benefit this could bring. The soulless beast thought long and hard but came up empty. Lin Moyu examined the block from every side. Each face bore an identical formation, 6 in total. But then he spotted a difference in one, a tiny dot at its center, which, when magnified, became a vortex. So he knew about the vortex all along, Lin Moyu realized. He had underestimated the candle dragon, who not only knew of the vortices but had studied them. Never underestimate anyone, Lin Moyu mused wryly. By carving these arrays, the candle dragon had been investigating how to eliminate the vortices, though he clearly had not succeeded, for they still existed. In array mastery, talent was as vital as effort. Without it, time alone could never reach the pinnacle. Lin Moyu silently wondered if the candle dragon had discovered the mysterious shadow. This time, he did not assume. He understood now that the candle dragon held many secrets still unseen. The soulless beast led Lin Moyu still deeper into the void, and before long, they saw a range of mountains carved with dragon patterns, evidence of the candle dragon's long years coiling there. The soulless beast's eyes flickered, projecting a beam of light over the mountains. The mountains lit up, projecting the candle dragon's image. "So, you've finally come," the candle dragon's projection said. Lin Moyu paused in surprise. The candle dragon had left him a message here. What did he want? 4191, 4191. Chapter 4191, The Ghost Husband. Lin Moyu smiled calmly. "How did you know I would come here?" A shadow of the candle dragon replied, "After I left, it wouldn't be long before the world of the realm would descend into chaos. The Tao you previously smashed is the reason for this. Naturally, you'd come to fix it, and I guessed you'd have your own person replace me. It's only natural you'd know my residence. With your curiosity, 9 out of 10 you'd come." Truly, having lived countless years, his notion of, "not long," could mean hundreds or thousands of years. To such beings, time has lost its meaning. It's just a number. In the blink of an eye, thousands or tens of thousands of years pass. A single plan might run for millions of years. Lin Moyu wouldn't think that way. To him, time mattered. He asked, "Did you leave a trace of divine sense here because you had something to tell me?" The candle dragon shadow replied, "Some things can't be said directly, so what I want to share is left behind here. You can experience it yourself." The candle dragon's faint glow covered the entire mountain range. He had dwelled on this nameless mountain for countless years. Over time, his aura became infused into the mountain, and it underwent a qualitative change, becoming a powerful treasure. The mountain shrank in the glow until it was only the size of a fist. By now, the candle dragon's remaining divine sense was almost exhausted, and condensing the mountain cost him significant power. The candle dragon's voice was weaker. "This dragon stone isn't some extraordinary magic item, but it contains secrets of the realm. What I want to say is inside. See for yourself. Some things cannot be said directly, nor spoken into the void, only passed on this way." Lin Moyu understood. He took the dragon stone. It was incredibly heavy, as if it contained the entire mountain. Indeed, the mountain had transformed by Lin Moyu's estimate, its weight rivaled that of an ordinary world. Using this against someone was like smashing them with a world. Just for this, it was a rare and powerful treasure. Contacting the dragon stone with his soul, a message immediately transmitted to him. The candle dragon's divine sense form smiled gently, then gradually disappeared. His mission complete, it was time to go. The candle dragon erased his last trace in the 5 world realms. He and this place would have no further ties. Lin Moyu realized he had underestimated the candle dragon. Anyone who had lived so long couldn't possibly have a shallow understanding of the realm. Though he never entered the realm's core in person, his soul had gone many times. He had long since discovered the vortexes hidden behind the divine runes and even knew about that shadow. The candle dragon had been observing everything for countless years and had gathered a great deal of useful information. These vortexes silently connected to nearly all the divine runes and infiltrated some rules. If this was spoken of directly, there was a risk of being sensed. That shadow was even more formidable, directly infiltrating the realm's core, immensely powerful and alert. Even as a mere wisp of consciousness, the candle dragon dared not provoke it. After years of research, the candle dragon hadn't gained much. His talent with formations was insufficient, and unlike Lin Moyu, he didn't refine divine runes, so he couldn't drive out the vortexes. The presence behind the vortexes was something the candle dragon dared not challenge. Finally, the candle dragon revealed something that astonished even Lin Moyu. That shadow had moved once and spoken. From the conversation, the candle dragon deduced that the master behind the vortexes desired the world's fortune. Besides that, the shadow wanted something else. They reached an accord, each seeking their own benefits, and together schemed for control over the 5 world realms. But this happened long ago. The shadow hadn't acted since, nor made any sound. The candle dragon knew the other's strength and could only watch from afar, never daring to approach. Once, the candle dragon heard a voice from within a vortex call that shadow, Ghost Husband. Ghost Husband. After reading the candle dragon's message, Lin Moyu fell into thought. Isn't Ghost Husband the one imprisoned by the old man in the green robe? Could it be that Ghost Husband originally plotted for the 5 world realms, but his true body was trapped, so the divine sense left here has been dormant for countless years? If so, it all makes sense. Otherwise, after so many years, there should have been some action. Since the realm's beginning, Ghost Husband had been present. If he truly meant to pull something, he would have by now. Only this explanation fit. As for the being behind the vortexes, the candle dragon never mentioned it again, as if it had gone into hiding. The only purpose of the vortexes was to absorb the world's fortune. Individually, they didn't draw much, but over countless years, the total stolen became considerable. Lin Moyu reflected. His first priority was the vortexes. Their master might appear or might not, but he had to be prepared. Then there was the divine sense of Ghost Husband. While his body was imprisoned, his spirit still existed and remained powerful. To have survived so many years inside the realm's core and absorbed so much energy made him a dangerous threat. Neither enemy would be easy to handle. Lin Moyu felt uncertain and would have to take it step by step. From their actions, though, both were just ordinary transcendents, not yet at the world lord level. If either possessed a world of their own, they wouldn't covet the fortune of another. Pocketing the dragon stone, Lin Moyu spoke to the soulless beast. This used to be the candle dragon's home. You may stay here, or anywhere else you like in the realm. The soulless beast thought for a moment. Master, I want to stay by your side. Lin Moyu said, that's fine, but you must maintain order in the realm. Don't let anything go wrong. He was now the realm's rule manager, with many responsibilities. Having the soulless beast nearby would make core access convenient. After exploring the candle dragon's abode, Lin Moyu found nothing more. The candle dragon had few hobbies, living a life of little interest. The candle dragon's many experiments struck Lin Moyu as foolish and pointless. Yet so many origin essences were gathered that they couldn't go to waste. A single pair of yin and yang origins could nurture a world. Here were thousands, all acquired through the candle dragon's authority. If these origins were released, with enough time, thousands more worlds could be created in the realm. The candle dragon's hard work now belonged to Lin Moyu. He happily accepted all the yin and yang origins, putting them into the Great Thousand World, where he could nurture miniature worlds and make it even stronger. The Great Thousand World wasn't truly a single world but a realm needing further growth. As for the assorted beings born from these origins, he took them along too, to enrich the diversity of the great thousand world. 4192, 4192. Chapter 4192, Tranquility. Lin Moyu returned to the Ungduan Mountains. The soulless beast had temporarily left to take care of its own tasks. In the great wilderness, the formation that gathered the force of filth was still running, but the formation to refine the essence of the great Tao had ceased. The filth pools were still recovering and, for now, couldn't integrate new foundational forces of heaven and earth. Lin Moyu didn't mind. This experiment was basically over for him. Its purpose was to clarify the fundamental forces of heaven and earth, and now he'd not only acquired them, but had actually used them. That was enough. When In Yuyan saw Lin Moyu return safely, joy appeared on her face. Is everything handled? Lin Moyu shook his head. It's never finished. Whenever I finish one thing, another pops up. And Yuyan was briefly surprised, but now that Candle Dragon has transcended, the beast threat is gone, and the Spirit Demon clan has left this realm and returned to Chaos, so what else is there? In her eyes, the world was finally at peace. They could do whatever they wanted and enjoy their time and leisure. Lin Moyu said, it's not that simple. Some secrets remain hidden in the realm that need to be addressed, one by one. Besides, my goal isn't yet achieved. I can't relax. And Yuyan knew Lin Moyu's goal, yet still advised, no matter how busy you are, you need to give yourself some time to rest. Lin Moyu smiled. True, you can't keep the string too taut, or it'll snap. I'm planning to visit my own world for a while. Taoist Yuyan, where are you going? If you have time, help me out with something. And Yuyan replied, I'll go back to my own world first and then come find you. Lin Moyu nodded and looked at Old Yin Head, who was still studying a formation. Old Yin Head, we're leaving. Old Yin Head didn't react at all. And Yuyan laughed, ignore him, he's lost in your formations. Lin Moyu mused, these formations are indeed worth studying. I'm thinking of projecting them onto the Tao of formations so everyone cultivating formations in the realm can view them together. And Yuyan's eyes lit up. Does that make you the master of formations? Lin Moyu spoke frankly. I need the fortune of heaven and earth. And Yuyan understood. They all wanted heavenly fortune, but it couldn't be obtained solely by wishing for it. Many prerequisites were required. Lin Moyu and Yuyan left the Ungduan Mountains, and the entire area, and even the entire origin ancestral land, both inner and outer battlefields, quieted down, with only a few people left. The beast threat was gone. Thanks to Lin Moyu's arrangements, filth of the Great Tao wouldn't be a problem for some time. The rules of the realm quietly changed. No longer were Great Tao lords forced to stay in the origin ancestral land for 5,000 of every 10,000 years, nor was there a mandatory millennium wait between entries. With these restrictions gone, hands of the Tao could visit freely. Eternal existences too. The Ungduan Mountains were now safe, the air no longer thick with Tao filth, even Tao lords could enter the great wilderness. Lin Moyu shut down the majority of the formations in the Ungduan Mountains so the Tao lords could freely enter and study formations. Of course, no one dared to cause trouble. Everyone now knew Lin Moyu's strength and kept well clear of risking their life. As space warped and the world's mist rolled, Lin Moyu appeared in the fog. He'd been gone from the origin continent for years. Its position in the world's mist was never fixed, always flying at a constant speed. Now his return found him not in the origin continent. With a thought, he quickly locked onto its location, stepped across and arrived. Origin continent was hidden inside a formation. Lin Moyu silently entered and took stock of everything. Ever since the world will was removed, Lin Moyu had become the continent's master. No matter what happened, it would be recorded for him to review. For years, things were peaceful. After the fierce final battle, everyone knew just how powerful Lin Moyu was. With such a supreme expert, no one dared try anything. The cultivators' world differed from the mundane there. One might threaten an enemy's friends or family, but in the world of cultivators, such tactics were useless. No one would dare target Lin Moyu's loved ones, but even so, he'd prepared contingencies for any idiots who might try. It turned out he was overcautious. Origin continent remained peaceful. He returned to Tao City. As soon as he appeared, a soft octopus embraced him. Now at the Tao realm, Xiaowu had sensed Lin Moyu right away, clinging to him tightly, tears in her eyes but bringing him great relief. Lin Moyu patted her back gently. Xiaomei and the others gathered around, overjoyed. All four had reached the Tao realm and were progressing steadily, with Xiaoyu having the strongest cultivation, almost reaching the Lord level. Talents showed their differences here. Xiao Mei and Xiao Wu lagged just behind, but both had reached 5th grade soul, with lazy Xiao Wu at 6th. Their rapid advancement was mainly due to the soul powder Lin Moyu gave them. After the Tao realm, the focus was the soul powder of the soul devourers was marvelously effective, allowing rapid growth with no side effects. Lin Moyu produced more soul powder for them, so the foursome could reach the peak of Tao realm quickly, potentially even challenge for Tao Lord. With his control over the rules, he could open doors for them becoming Tao Lords was all but certain. However, to become a lord of a specific Tao was harder. Each of their Taos already had a master, and Lin Moyu wouldn't kill existing Tao Lords just to help them ascend. But he had a solution. If they couldn't attain mastery in the 5 world domains, they could go to the Great Thousand World. It was all the same, just with a different location. Lin Moyu spent several days with the 4 women, then found Taoist Hao and others to give them some soul powder too, so their cultivation could surge as well. Lin Moyu was never stingy with his own people. Afterward, he visited Antares, who now cultivated with Long Yi and had progressed greatly. As a Tao Lord, Long Yi greeted Lin Moyu with deep respect, having seen Lin Moyu's might in the Origin ancestral land. Seeing everyone doing well, Lin Moyu left Origin continent to visit Sanzu and the others. The elders were still evolving worlds, their auras had grown markedly stronger, and once they succeeded, they would become local world masters. Not quite Tao Lords, but elites among them. The elders were content they'd never sought to become Tao Lords, and were happy with what they'd achieved. After making his rounds, Lin Moyu returned to his own little courtyard to enjoy a rare period of peaceful and pleasant life. 3 months later, An Yuyan arrived at Origin continent. 4193. 4193. Chapter 4193, A little more causality isn't so bad. An Yuyan passed through the world mist, standing elegantly outside the Origin continent. Her cold gaze swept across the land. Though she seemed to do nothing but stand outside the world, the terrible natural pressure she exuded deformed the Tao itself. All cultivators in the outer heavens felt as though a mountain pressed down on them, making even breathing difficult. Her appearance drew widespread attention, and every glance at An Yuyan was filled with respect and fear and awe for powerful existence that runs to the deepest part of the soul. She's terrifying, so powerful beyond Tao Lord. Could she be a Tao Master? No, even the hands of the Tao are inferior. Stronger than a Tao Mastera then could she be? As discussion broke out, An Yuyan spoke. Taoist Lin, Yuyan has come to visit. Lin Moyu's voice answered, wait a moment, I'll come at once. An Yuyan said, no rush. After a short wait, Lin Moyu emerged, taking a single step to appear before her, smiling, thank you for waiting, Yuyan. An Yuyan smiled back. Taoist Lin is always busy. The look in her eyes, filled with deeper meaning, made it clear she was teasing. Lin Moyu returned the smile. Shall we find another place to talk? All right, An Yuyan agreed. She too disliked being observed. The two vanished into the mist. After they left, countless cultivators on the Origin continent were left in uproar. Only then did they realize what level Lin Moyu had reached. To speak as equals with such a legendary figure meant Lin Moyu was already at the same level. His strength once again surpassed everyone's understanding. Some young geniuses had targeted Lin Moyu as a rival, but now that seemed laughable. The target was too lofty and unrealistic. Those so-called prodigies, even after a lifetime, might only reach the Tao realm, and even reaching Tao Lord was hard. As for Lin Moyu's level, calling it impossibly out of reach would be an understatement. An Yuyan chuckled. Taoist Lin has no shortage of admirers. Lin Moyu replied, you're teasing me, Yuyan. He knew An Yuyan was joking. How could someone with her insight fail to see the relationship he had with Xiao Mei and the others? As the Lord of Causality, nothing could escape her if she traced causality. An Yuyan smiled. Is there anything you need my help with? Lin Moyu brought out a shard piece from the gate, which could be used to locate it again. But the direction indicated by the shard was imprecise. Finding the gate would take time. With the aid of the Tao of Causality, however, it would become much easier. Also, after the gate was opened, Lin Moyu wanted An Yuyan to help guard it. If the Soul Devourer Emperor on the other side tried to come out, with An Yuyan's ability and his own formations, they should be able to hold it off for a while, at least until he returned. What troubled Lin Moyu now was the Soul Devourer Emperor behind the gate. He couldn't kill it. If it came to the 5 world domains, no one could oppose it. Last time, when the Soul Devourer Emperor returned behind the gate, It was a great blessing for the 5 world domains, a stroke of luck unlikely to repeat. Now that he considered himself the master of the 5 world domains, he naturally did not want the realm destroyed. And Yuyan smiled, gathering the power of causality. Is that all you need, Taoist Lin? Lin Moyu said, that's one part, but there's something else, even more bothersome, and possibly dangerous. I'm not sure how to ask. And Yuyan waved her hand, tossing the ball of causality to him. There's no need for such courtesy, speak plainly. If there really is danger, I trust you wouldn't just watch me die. Of course not, but let's first finish this trip to the gate. Lin Moyu used his power to activate the shard, which immediately pointed in a direction, though not precisely. With an Yuyan's causality power injected, the shard's direction shifted slightly because the distance was vast. Even a small change in direction could mean an enormous difference. With an Yuyan at his side, he no longer had to keep activating the key. With all the causality power they needed, they pierced through the mist, flying far away, covering billions of li in moments. And Yuyan suddenly asked, Taoist Lin, how do you plan to open the gate this time? Lin Moyu replied, last time, I found the method for the 10th ring, but there was no time to use it. This time, I intend to open it perfectly. And Yuyan was surprised, you actually figured out the 10th ring method. Have you ever opened the gate, Yuyan? Lin Moyu asked. And Yuyan shook her head. I haven't, but others have, and I've helped them. So I know something of the gate. Some Eternals, many Tao Masters, only the human emperor has opened it with 9 rings, and declared that no one can open all 10. Lin Moyu smiled. Then the human emperor was too hasty. And Yuyan agreed. I think so too. The human emperor is dazzling, but still not quite a match for you, Taoist Lin. Talking and laughing, they soon reached their destination, a great gate floating within the world's mist. The gate hadn't been present for long, its accumulated power clearly insufficient, even the first halo was not fully lit. The aftershocks of battle reached them outside the gate, several Tao-born beings were fighting. And Yuyan saw the truth using causality, their Tao lords from surrounding worlds, vying for the gate. Throughout history, many have heard the legend of this gate. It is rare and, whenever it appears near a world, sure to spark conflict. Lin Moyu said, let's just have them leave. He snapped his fingers, and an undead servant flew to the center of the battlefield. Boom! A gale exploded from the servant, blasting all fighting Tao lords thousands of li away, leaving them staring in shock and fear at the sudden intruder. They sensed a terrifying, unbeatable power radiating from the armored being, a force utterly beyond their capacity to resist. The undead servant issued a cold command, leave, or die. Murderous intent filled the words, as sharp as a blade, falling on each Tao lord. They coughed blood with a scream. Just a sentence, a few words, was enough to leave them gravely wounded. In the face of such a being, how could they resist? The mysterious gate was good, but their lives mattered more. If they died, what use would the gate have? Watching, and Yuyan teased, Taoist Lin truly is overbearing. The undead servant was completely obedient to Lin Moyu's will. Lin Moyu replied, it's simpler this way. And Yuyan said, wouldn't it be simpler just to kill them all? Lin Moyu shook his head. No need to make needless causality when there's no enmity. And Yuyan mused, actually, a bit more causality isn't so bad. 4194, 4194. Chapter 4194, Shattered Glazed Glass. Lin Moyu certainly understood and Yuyan's meaning. Her words referred to the karma between them. It was precisely because of this unresolved karma that the two had reached this point. Though no promises had been spoken, some things didn't require them. Lin Moyu slowly flew to the door, placed his hand upon it, and, activating his soul power, enveloped the door and took it away. Let's change places, he said. Lin Moyu had no intention of opening the door here. And Yuyan smiled, follow me, I know a good spot. A soft light glimmered at her fingertip, leading the way as she flew off. In an instant, they crossed billions of miles, and Yuyan stopped. The light intensified, the fog before them parted, and a world was revealed. This world was already shattered, fragments everywhere, yet those fragments shimmered in dazzling hues, breathtakingly beautiful. The pieces had become crystalline, like the finest gems, refracting a rainbow of colors. The source of these colors was the largely incomplete yin-yang origin at the world's center. And Yuyan explained, I've traveled the realms for 1,000,000 years and seen many worlds. This one was once burned by a great Tao Lord with flames. The world was reduced to shards, everything scorched into glazed jewels, and it became beautiful in its ruin. I named this world Shattered Glaze and sealed it, making it my private garden. Sometimes, I visit to see its dazzling chaos, a vivid contrast to the monotony beyond. It truly was a beautiful world. Brilliant, fractured, yet lovely. Looking around, it was like a world-sized kaleidoscope. And Yuyan continued, "No one comes here, what do you think?" Lin Moyu replied, "It's a great place, let's use it." They entered the world, and what they saw inside was even more striking than from outside. Yet beneath the beauty lay the death of countless living beings. At the world's center, Lin Moyu set down the door, and with it, billions of undead servants appeared. The undead channeled all sorts of power into the door. Now that Lin Moyu's cultivation was higher, his undead were stronger too, and the power they could muster far surpassed before. In an instant, the first ring on the door fully lit up. The second ring soon began to hum. At this rate, it would illuminate before long. And Yuyan asked, "Taoist Lin, do you know what this door is called?" Lin Moyu shook his head, "I'm not sure." And Yuyan, curiosity in her gaze, said, "Countless people have entered over the years, but no one has ever known the door's true name." Lin Moyu mused, maybe only when all 10 rings are perfectly lit will its name be revealed. He already knew what lay beyond the door, a shattered domain. Not merely a world, but an entire domain. This domain had spawned many transcendents. The Wanling Pavilion alone had several, not to mention more in other sects. In that domain, becoming a transcendent wasn't uncommon, yet Lin Moyu sensed their strength wasn't impressive. The Wanling Pavilion's transcendents might not necessarily be able to defeat the Eternals of the 5 realms in direct battle. It was simply that the domain itself was weak, so reaching transcendence was easier. But still, a transcendent is a transcendent in domains lacking them, they hold absolute advantage. That's how the Wanling Pavilion dominated for many years, taking over worlds, nurturing world spirits. But because they weren't strong enough, once they provoked a true power, their domain was swiftly crushed. Lin Moyu guessed that someone like the Candle Dragon, upon becoming a transcendent, could overrun the Wanling Pavilion's domain, not just the sect, but the entire domain. Among transcendents, there's a vast difference in strength, and numbers alone can't bridge the gap. It was just like lighting up the rings on the door. Now even the first ring took less than a minute, and the second just 10 minutes. The third should take about an hour, massively faster than before. This was the difference brought by power. Different levels, vastly different results. After opening the third ring, Lin Moyu summoned more undead, whose power accelerated the process. There was no noticeable slowdown. And Yuyan produced a tea table and brewed Lin Moyu tea. She was no longer some lofty eternal, but became a gentle companion at her husband's side. Lin Moyu drank tea, eyes gazing into the distance, deep in thought. And Yuyan smiled, "What are you thinking about?" Lin Moyu replied, "An old fellow." And Yuyan asked, "What old fellow?" Lin Moyu said, "An old enemy of mine. When I get the chance, I'll definitely give him a lesson." And Yuyan responded, "With your power now, you can't already." Lin Moyu shook his head. "Not yet, but in time, I'll manage." And Yuyan didn't press for details. She could sense Lin Moyu didn't wish to discuss it, and, being wise, knew when to drop the matter. While they drank tea and chatted, and Yuyan reflected on her countless years of experience. Lin Moyu shared his experiences too, and in Yuyan realized that though Lin Moyu's cultivation time was short, his hardships rivaled her own. Her path had been smooth, with some dangers, but nothing like Lin Moyu, who walked a perilous road where a single misstep spelled disaster. Days later, the 6th ring lit up, and it was time to begin on the 7th. Where once the 7th had taken immense time to light, now it was much easier. Lin Moyu activated his gathering technique, raising his power to half-step transcendence. In this state, he could wield the world-ending palm and control immense Tao origin. But at the same time, the world's rules would try to expel him. Lin Moyu quietly called, "Wahun, help." His voice traveled through the domain's laws, and the soulless beast's shadow appeared in the void. The soulless beast manipulated the rules, slowing the world's attempt to expel Lin Moyu, allowing him to maintain this state for a long time. And Yuyan was stunned. The soulless beast replaced the Candle Dragon. Lin Moyu answered, "Yes." After the Candle Dragon left, the world's rules became chaotic and needed a new manager. So I let the soulless beast take his place. And Yuyan nodded, "That makes things much more convenient." Lin Moyu smiled, channeling Tao origin into the door. With his current level and the undead's help, the seventh ring was lighting up at an astonishing rate. At this pace, it would be fully lit within 10 days. And Yuyan's eyes sparkled. She knew how hard it was to light a ring. In the past, the human emperor and others spent 1,000, 10,000 years on this, yet for Lin Moyu, those millennia had become mere days. The difference was beyond comparison in her eyes. Lin Moyu had turned decay into wonder. It was simply miraculous. 4195, 4195. Chapter 4195, Reversing Yin and Yang, Lighting the 10th Ring. As the 7th halo gradually lit up, and Yuyan found it increasingly incredible. She felt as if she was witnessing a miracle logically. For someone at her level of cultivation, belief in miracles was unnecessary, since they all understood the rule that everything has a cause and effect and that true miracles do not exist. Especially as the Lord of Causality, she clearly understood that nothing could escape causality. Yet what was happening before her almost made her feel that a miracle was unfolding. Of course, she could reason out the truth. The reason the halos lit up so quickly was simply that the power was strong enough. The number of undead servants unleashed by Lin Moyu was simply too staggering. They densely filled much of the shattered glass world, almost occupying the entire space. And Yuyan couldn't help but ask, how many puppets do you have, exactly? She didn't want to probe Lin Moyu's secrets and had never asked before. But she'd always been curious. The undead servants were not just numerous, but could wield all sorts of daos, even possessing their own unique daos, and as Lin Moyu's realm advanced, so did theirs. She had never heard of such puppets. Lin Moyu shook his head. They are not puppets. Just as I thought. And Yuyan's heart skipped. It was as she had suspected. They were not simple puppets. She didn't press further, as it would be impolite. But Lin Moyu was unconcerned. They are summoned by me, and they are my comrades in arms. Without them, it would have been hard to get this far. And Yuyan smiled. If you say that, the rest of us should be ashamed. She knew well how strong Lin Moyu himself was. Though they were all Eternals, one Lin Moyu could defeat all of them, and that was without relying on his undead servants. As they drank tea and chatted, the 7th halo was lit, then the 8th. The undead servants channeled Dao power into it, while Lin Moyu urged the Dao origin force, speeding up the process. Every few days, he had to stop the gathering power technique and wait half a day before resuming. As a rules manager, the soulless beast had some privileges, able to help Lin Moyu delay time, but couldn't alter the rules. After 50 days, the 8th ring lit, followed by the 9th. Last time, it took Lin Moyu a long time to light the 9th, but now, he estimated 300 days would be enough, not even a full year. And Yuyan was curious about how the 10th halo would be lit, but chose not to ask. Amid their gentle conversation, the 9th ring was fully lit, and then it was time for the 10th. At this moment, Lin Moyu put away the power-gathering spell, his cultivation returning to the eternal level. In his palm, a force of gray and white intertwined, forming a yin-yang sphere. The immortality Dao gathered in his palm, compressed ever stronger. He explained, actually, lighting the 10th ring is simple. It requires an extreme force whose nature has been altered, the reversal of extremes I mentioned before. Normally, only a Dao Lord would encounter this level of power, because below Dao Lord, one can't control all the power of a Dao or reach the needed purity, let alone trigger reversal of extremes. Even so, if a Dao Lord comprehends reversal of extremes and transforms their Dao power, they may still lack the volume to truly light the 10th ring. So within the domain, at least the eternal level is needed. There's one exception. With a suitable formation, it can also be done. But such formations are very rare. As he spoke, the combined powers of life and death in Lin Moyu's hand compressed to the extreme, serving as each other's catalysts and triggering a reversal of extremes. This process was second nature for Lin Moyu, appearing natural and effortless. And Yuyan could clearly sense the shift in Dao force after this reversal. Both aspects of the immortality Dao had been enhanced, while remaining in balance. Lin Moyu flung the refined Dao force into the ring. The great door trembled as it absorbed the force, the 10th halo lighting up yet only partially, dimming again shortly after. He continued to infuse Dao force, refining it further and flinging the renewed power at the door. The halo brightened, but slowly. After adapting to this, Lin Moyu suddenly flicked out a stream of divine runes from his fingertips. The runes formed a formation not large, but extremely intricate and profound, difficult even for an Yuyan to fully understand. The immortality Dao appeared overhead, Dao power pouring into the formation. The array began to operate, manifesting as a yin-yang diagram, with zones of life power containing death, and vice versa, a mysterious interdependence. Seeing the diagram, An Yuyan fell into thought. Though she no longer chased the final step, as an eternal, her understanding of the Tao's had reached its peak, and the pattern sparked new insights about her own Tao. The formation continued to compress Tao power. When the limit was reached, the formation reversed, breaking balance. The yin and yang triggered each other and leapt to the other extreme. This newly reversed power was injected into the great door to light the 10th ring. The formation was fully automatic and didn't require Lin Moyu's intervention, but each transformation produced less power than Lin Moyu could by himself. To solve this, Lin Moyu created a second formation, then a third, and soon there were over 1,000. These formations endlessly channeled immortality Tao power, sending wave after wave of reversed force into the great door. At this pace, in at most 1,000 days, the 10th ring would be fully lit, finally opening the mysterious door in its perfect form. And Yuyan was entranced, gaining insight from the ongoing transformation of forces, approaching her own breakthrough. Where is the limit of the causality Tao? What is the power after reversal? These were her lifelong questions, and only she could find the answer. Seeing An Yuyan so absorbed, Lin Moyu didn't disturb her. With a thought, he summoned the soulless beast. Open the domain gate for me, I have to go again. He left plenty of undead servants to guard the area, to prevent outside interference. The whole time, he remained multitasking. At the core of the domain, another 1,000 divine runes were refined. Now, he was to choose another 1,000. For him, the trouble at the core was the real problem, an even bigger issue than the mysterious door in front of him. 4196, 4196. Chapter 4196, Sis, stop messing around. Within the core of the realm, countless divine runes floated. Lin Moyu had refined a total of 2,000, yet this was just a drop in the ocean compared to the whole. He was in no hurry, nibbling away at the core bit by bit, as gentle and unnoticed as a spring rain soaking the earth. Time and again, almost unconsciously, he was able to refine most of the runes within the core. Once he reached that point, Lin Moyu would gain control over the realm core and become the life of the realm naturally and inevitably. Selecting another 1,000 divine runes, he left his soul avatars within them. By now, he could sense a subtle yet tangible connection to the realm core. The feeling was excellent. Lin Moyu knew his plan was working and he was truly progressing toward success. Returning from the realm core, Lin Moyu found An Yuyan still immersed in her comprehension of the great Tao. He did not disturb her, instead quietly drinking tea and admiring her beauty. Sometimes An Yuyan frowned, other times her face showed traces of joy, her expression in constant flux. She seemed relaxed and at ease, a sign that she completely trusted Lin Moyu. The 10th halo was starting to brighten. About 500 days later, An Yuyan let out a soft moan, and a vast aura surged from her. The causality Tao manifested naturally, countless cycles of cause and effect weaving through the Tao. All things in heaven and earth have cause and thus effect, and every effect must have a cause, embodying the ultimate logic of the Tao. In that moment, An Yuyan cried out in a low voice, "Heavenly cause." Instantly, the causality Tao was thrown into turmoil. The cycles of cause and effect were broken, the cause within them erased by a power so intense that only effect remained. This change was extreme, utterly violating the nature of the causality Tao and completely surpassing it. For an event in the world to have a destined outcome without any cause, this was a truly terrifying thing. It was a complete reversal of causality, defying the rules of heaven and earth. Lin Moyu watched this and had a faint sense that such power could not be used casually, for its backlash would certainly be severe. He suddenly thought of the seeking cause ring. The ring operated on the rules of the causality Tao, yet its backlash was astonishing. Lin Moyu had once believed it channeled a force from outside the realm, but now he wasn't so sure. Instead, it seemed the ring determined effect first and ignored the question of cause, triggering the backlash, a punishment from the rules to substitute for the cause. In other words, although An Yuyan had comprehended effect without cause, using such an extreme, law-defying power would be almost impossible for her in her current state. If she tried, the backlash would be more than she could handle, unless she advanced again and became a transcendent. Maybe then she could just barely wield the power of effect without cause. The causality Tao gradually faded. An Yuyan opened her eyes and, seeing Lin Moyu smiling, said, "Congratulations." An Yuyan was also happy. "If it weren't for your support, Taoist Lin, I wouldn't have reached this comprehension." Lin Moyu shook his head. This was always your fate, just as the causality Tao says. This outcome was inevitable, it was only a matter of time. And Yuyan's voice softened. I had given up hope of ever going beyond eternity. But after meeting you, it's as if everything changed. I glimpsed a hidden truth within the causality Tao. It was your appearance that changed my future, and so She trailed off, and suddenly her face changed. Lin Moyu's expression shifted as well. A surge of unease filled their hearts, and a wave of dread swept into Lin Moyu's soul. He looked up sharply and saw a sword light descending like a blanket across the sky. The blade was so powerful it shattered the void and evaporated the world's mists. In Lin Moyu's eyes, not even the rules of heaven and earth could block this sword. They were cut to pieces. This was a sword strike unlike anything he'd seen, a force that surpassed the rules, no longer part of this world. A transcendent. Lin Moyu's first reaction was that this blade came from a transcendent. But how could there be such a being here, and why would one attack him? Gather power. He instinctively tried to invoke gather power, to break past his limits and reach transcendence as well. Only a transcendent could fight a transcendent. Yet, at this critical moment, the art of gather power failed him, falling silent. It wasn't just his own techniques, even his undead servants were frozen, unable to respond. The sword light contained such overwhelming power that it overpowered the world, severed time, and obliterated Lin Moyu's personal timeline. His magic didn't fail, nor were his undead numb. Instead, within the domain of the sword, his soul and body were cast out of time and space. So this is the power of a transcendent. Lin Moyu was shaken. He had briefly touched transcendence, but clearly, his understanding was far from enough. All these thoughts passed in an instant as the sword light fell. There was no escape, no possibility but to take it head on. Still, Lin Moyu was unafraid he could be reborn. He didn't believe that a single sword strike could completely destroy him. Look out! A cry rang in his ears. Only then did Lin Moyu realize that he wasn't alone in the shattered space-time, and Yuyan was with him. She could still use her Tao, even as he was suppressed. What's going on? He wondered, baffled by the inexplicable reversal. But what happened next stunned him even more. Effect without cause. And Yuyan activated the causality Tao and directly used the power she had just comprehended. Lin Moyu felt a strange force wrap around him, and suddenly, he was whisked away from the shattering world. And Yuyan, using effect without cause, expelled him, but she herself had to endure the backlash as well as face the falling sword. He personally watched an Yuyan, before the blade descended, be torn to pieces by the backlash. And Yuyan did not die, but she certainly fell into dormancy. It was uncertain how many reincarnations it would take for her to return. As soon as she died, the sword light instantly vanished, as if it had never existed. Wrath and hatred surged in Lin Moyu's eyes as he glared furiously into the void. Finally, he saw the instigator, and in that instant, all his anger and hatred vanished, replaced by shock. Sissa, Lin Moyu was dumbfounded. It was Lin Mohan who had unleashed the sword. After all these years, Lin Mohan was as stunning as ever, standing in the void like an imperial daughter. Her sword or a sword, untouchable by any rule, she existed in that void and yet did not belong to it. She stood there, as if the heavens and realms would step aside for her. After all these years apart, Lin Mohan had become a transcendent and a terrifyingly powerful one. Lin Moyu didn't know what she had experienced, nor what changes had taken place in her. So long as Lin Mohan was safe, that was enough. He only didn't understand why she had struck with her sword. But in a flash, he saw the answer. Lin Mohan smiled playfully. Little brother, long time no see. Did I scare you just now? Lin Moyu sighed. Big sis, stop messing around. Save her, please. 4197. 4197. Chapter 4197, Myriad Marvel Gate. Lin Mohan exclaimed in surprise, oh, little brother saw through it again. You're still so clever, so impressive. Lin Moyu replied, sis, have your fun, but don't go as far as killing anyone. Lin Mohan laughed, your sister was just testing her, relax, relax, I won't go that far. Lin Moyu had a sinking feeling. Sis, you really came for her, didn't you? Ah, you saw through it again. Lin Mohan feigned surprise. Her real reason for coming had been uncovered once more. Lin Moyu sighed helplessly. What is that old man in the green robe trying to do? Lin Mohan replied, whatever he's doing, he certainly wouldn't harm you, little brother. Besides, it's not like you'll never see me again, just get a bit stronger and we'll meet. For now, I'm taking her back. She just needs to get to know the other sisters ahead of time. Lin Moyu looked at Lin Mohan. Tell me honestly, how are they doing now? Without hesitation, Lin Mohan answered, very well. They're all quite formidable in any case, you can't beat any of them. Sis really has to praise your taste in women, they get more powerful each time. Relieved, Lin Moyu pressed, and what about teacher and the others? Lin Mohan giggled, oh, are you trying to get information out of your own sister now? Lin Moyu just said, I'm just curious. Lin Mohan replied, same as before, get stronger and you'll find out. Alright, I need to get going. I'll be taking your little sister-in-law too. She took out a round disc, which possessed a familiar aura, one belonging to the old man in the green robe, marking it as one of his artifacts. The disc glowed softly, and the causality Tao appeared, with endless Tao power settling onto the disc. The long dormant and Yuyan materialized within, coming swiftly back to life. And Yuyan, obviously dazed from resurrection, murmured, wasn't I dead? But upon seeing that Lin Moyu was unharmed, her eyes filled with joy. Lin Mohan declared, all right, sister-in-law, it's time for us to go. Sister-in-law, and Yuyan was dumbfounded by the address. What did that mean? Without letting her respond, Lin Mohan turned to Lin Moyu, little brother, keep training hard. All your sisters-in-law are waiting for you. With that, a streak of sword light surged upward from her body, splitting the heavens en route to chaos. She pulled an Yuyan into the sword light, and they vanished. Lin Moyu never tried to interfere, he knew he couldn't. The figure behind Lin Mohan was the old man in the green robe. However much Lin Moyu might resent him, he had to admit that the man's strength surpassed his own by a vast margin. That sword just now wasn't meant to kill, only to test, and the real target was an Yuyan. Lin Mohan wanted to see how an Yuyan would react in such a crisis. Would she stand by and do nothing? Or would she use her newly comprehended effect with no cause to save him, risking her own collapse? Forced by circumstance, and Yuyan had only subconscious instinct to guide her. She chose to sacrifice herself, passing Lin Mohan's test. Once an eternal is willing to die for you, she's acknowledged as one of the family. Lin Moyu sighed. What kind of situation is this? All his women had been taken away, and now it was his own elder sister making the move. He felt a bitterness he couldn't voice. Yet on second thought, perhaps it wasn't a bad thing. With Lin Mohan, and Yuyan would certainly be safe. More than that, her cultivation would progress rapidly. Ascendance was certain, a great opportunity in her life. Moreover, Lin Moyu had finally learned news of his other wives. They were all well and all very strong. From Lin Mohan's words, each was stronger than he was, meaning they had all transcended. And there was that final point. He really did want to know about Meng Anwen and the others' fates, but Lin Mohan told him only to get stronger to find out. From this, Lin Moyu was 80% sure that Meng Anwen and the others were alive and doing well. Taking a deep breath, Lin Moyu murmured, all right. In that case, it's time to take another step forward. His Tao heart, nearly unmatched by any, quickly calmed. The world, already broken, was shattered even more by Lin Mohan's sword. Fortunately, the Great Gate remained intact. The 10th corona of light was slowly illuminating. Lin Moyu quietly awaited the full illumination of the final corona, making 2 more trips to the realm's core to reselect divine sigils for refinement. Climbing from eternity to the next stage was extremely difficult. Throughout history, countless Eternals had tried. Was it for lack of intelligence, talent, or simply that heaven and earth gave no openings? Lin Moyu felt it was none of these. The real reason was simply that the path was too hard. But no matter how difficult, Lin Moyu was sure nothing could stop his advance. Finally, after several hundred days, the 10th corona on the gate lit up. Since its appearance, never before had all 10 coronas been illuminated. This was the first time. The gate, in all its perfection, began opening, Lin Moyu's eyes glowing as he gazed at the sky gate. Behind it was a crumbling realm, but Lin Moyu wondered if this perfected gate would hide some pleasant surprise. All 10 coronas shone brightly on the gate, illuminating its patterns, which began to move as if alive, converging into several large characters before Lin Moyu. Myriad Marvel Gate. So this is called the Myriad Marvel Gate. Lin Moyu said to himself. The name didn't surprise him. Last time, he'd seen the Myriad Marvel steel behind the gate. With that, a Myriad Marvel Gate seemed only natural. With a thunderous roar, the gate opened, fierce energy pouring in gusts from beyond. Within the wind was the distinct aura of another realm, and Lin Moyu sensed the power of Tao's utterly different from the 5 world realms. He saw the fine rule lines of the 5 world realms withdraw, pulling back from the myriad marvel gate. This was very intriguing, a crumbling realm behind the gate that was no greater than the 5 world realms, yet the 5 world realms retreated before it. Lin Moyu looked into the void. Wahun, do you know why? The soulless beast appeared from the void. No, this feels strange, the realm's rules can't touch there. It seems there's a power so strong behind the gate it drives the rules away. Lin Moyu nodded, I feel it too. Though it was odd, Lin Moyu did not slow down. He quickly arranged several powerful arrays, linking them into a defensive net. The undead servants would manage the array, the soulless beast would guard it, so even if a soul devourer emperor escaped, they could trap it for a while. The soul devourer emperor inside wasn't as strong as those outside the 5 world realms. 4198. 4198. Chapter 4198. The Spirit Wondrous Realm. The great door was fully opened, a curtain of light descended over it, and from outside nothing within could be seen. For the first time, the myriad marvels gate opened in its perfect form to welcome a guest. Lin Moyu entered the gate, becoming its first guest. The unique aura of the myriad marvels gate radiated outward, practically spreading through half the heavens and earth. In nearby worlds, powerful beings were awakened and soon rushed over. Even Eternals and great Tao Lords from afar sensed the gate's presence and made their way toward it. After a brief teleportation, Lin Moyu arrived at the center of a vast plaza. The plaza was enormous and circular, covered in cracks, clearly the aftermath of a colossal battle. High above, many shattered thrones floated, but none had left the bounds of the plaza. An invisible force within the plaza restrained them, keeping them suspended, preventing their departure. Lin Moyu noticed many threads of law. Most were already broken, a handful barely intact. It was these threads that bound the ruined thrones, supporting them in mid-air and confining them within the plaza. This method used the realm's natural laws directly, more advanced than traditional formations. It wasn't so much about being stronger as it was about reaching to the realm's very foundation, something only a transcendent could achieve. Clearly, the creator of the plaza was a transcendent. Unfortunately, now the plaza was ruined, the realm destroyed with it, and the laws within this trapped domain were damaged as well. 9 thrones. If my guess is right, one of them should belong to the Myriad Spirits Pavilion, and the others must be sect powers on the same level. In other words, there are at least several sects with transcendence in the 4 realms. He quickly found the throne belonging to the Myriad Spirits Pavilion among the 9 broken ones, even shattered, the details revealed its exquisite craft. This confirmed his deductions, if not completely correct, then mostly accurate. The degree to which the gate opened determined how much of the realm one could access. With the gate open to 9 rings, one could see the Myriad Marvels tablet and learn techniques, thus entering the corresponding sect territory. For a realm already broken, to still maintain this system seemed unnecessary to Lin Moyu. Now, with the gate perfectly opened and finding himself in the plaza, it meant this place once held extraordinary significance within the realm. Lin Moyu slowly flew around, sweeping his gaze over the whole plaza, then noticed something. A half-ruined tablet lay on the ground, originally over 100 meters tall, now only less than half remained. The tablet was made of special material, a rare treasure, not ordinary stone. The material matched what the Myriad Marvels tablet was made of, suggesting this tablet too recorded something important. Channeling his soul force into the tablet, Lin Moyu awakened it. After countless years of slumber, a flood of information surged forth. Hurry, get out, fools, what you're doing will doom the realm. Move aside, we're charging into chaos, becoming a chaos realm. Quick, throw that thing away, now. His vision blurred as he saw a series of fragmented, chaotic images. He heard myriad overlapping voices, each reciting different, disordered tales. Lin Moyu accepted all of the chaotic information, no matter how jumbled, and then calmly set about sorting it out. With his current cultivation, no matter how chaotic the knowledge, he could organize it given time. He knew that the smashed state of the tablet was the cause, its records now scrambled and incomplete. He could only try to piece together what happened from these remnants. Fortunately, the information recorded was vast and extremely detailed. Slowly, Lin Moyu reconstructed the events. Outside the gate, powerful figures gathered, great Tao Lords from nearby worlds, even several Tao Lords from afar. Yet, all kept their distance in this place. They were mere extras, the true major players were several Eternals. It's the Undying Lord's puppet. So, this gate was opened by the Undying Lord. He made it so grand. Human Emperor, how far is the gate open? Several Eternals looked to the Human Emperor, since he had once opened the gate to 9 rings and was most qualified to judge. The Human Emperor said, "This is the Undying Lord's second time opening the gate, last time was 9 rings but now it's 10 perfect form." Their astonishment was clear. They knew how difficult perfect opening was. The Human Emperor added, "The gate is now perfectly open. Are any of you interested in going in?" His words, tinged with jest, prompted immediate unanimous refusal. It was Lin Moyu who opened the gate, any opportunity should be his. To enter now would be to compete with him, risking his displeasure. No one was foolish enough to court disaster, especially with someone who could shatter the cursed Tao and slaughter Eternals. The Human Emperor said, "Then let's wait here. I'm quite curious what Lin Taoist will gain." At last, Lin Moyu finished organizing the information from the tablet. From it he learned part of the realm's history. This realm was called Lingmiao, Spirit Wondrous, and it had 9 top-level transcendent sects, with the myriad spirits pavilion among them. The realm once held as many as 20 transcendents, a seemingly formidable number. Yet, curiously, despite so many transcendents, none ever led their sects into chaos, breaking free of the realm to become a force of chaos. There were many benefits to merging into chaos. At least they would no longer be constrained by realm rules, and could draw power straight from chaos itself, increasing their foundational level greatly. The tablet didn't state explicitly why this never occurred, but Lin Moyu surmised that it was because they were not strong enough. Chaos was dangerous, they dared not attempt it. This confirmed Lin Moyu's earlier judgment. The transcendents of Lingmiao realm were not superior to the Eternals of the 5 world realms. Lingmiao realm itself was inferior, because it was weak and its ceiling low. It produced many transcendents, but these very same transcendents didn't dare venture into chaos, instead seeking to remain here even after transcendence. The records included traces of their debates. Someone wanted to turn the whole realm into a chaos realm, while others opposed. Later, it seemed someone obtained a certain object, which attracted powerful enemies. Unfortunately, the most critical information had been lost. Lin Moyu could only cross-check this with what he learned in the Myriad Spirits Pavilion. 4199, 4199. Chapter 4199, The Core of the Lingmiao Realm. Lin Moyu stood motionless in the plaza as his undead servants flew in all directions, searching for a way out. Meanwhile, he delved deeper into the information about the Lingmiao realm, cross-referencing what he had gained this time with data previously obtained in the Myriad Spirits Pavilion. This allowed for a more thorough and complete understanding. According to Wan Zongling, a Holy Spirit transcendent cultivator who disliked being called Pavilion Master, the domain's destruction was due to the Myriad Spirits Pavilion provoking a tremendously powerful realm while searching for worlds. Experts from that realm retaliated, destroying both the Myriad Spirits Pavilion and the entire Lingmiao realm. Yet, based on recent findings, things seemed less straightforward. Although Lin Moyu believed that the pavilion did anger a stronger domain, that was not the principal cause of the Lingmiao realm's destruction. Rather, what the pavilion did became the catalyst. Something must have happened after that which truly led to the outcome. The Lingmiao realm had at least 20 Holy Spirit-level transcendent existences. If, when outmatched, they truly wished to escape, they could have fled into chaos. Yet it appears all the experts died, none escaped. Was it that they did not want to run, or could they not flee? That was the question. And why did the destroyed Lingmiao realm appear here? The Wan Miao Gate clearly must have been forged later. When the Lingmiao realm reigned in its prime, no one would have thought to make such a gate. Layer by layer, the fog was lifted, and Lin Moyu began to form his own view on the collapse of the realm. He was about 80% certain the root cause was not the domain provoked by the pavilion, but rather something discovered there afterward. Behind the realm antagonized by the pavilion, there was an even mightier being, who personally destroyed the Lingmiao realm. Yet the Lingmiao realm did not actually perish entirely, it ultimately escaped. Escaped. This meant that thing did not end up in the hands of the attackers, but remained in the Lingmiao realm. What could it be? Lin Moyu was now very interested. Just what was so precious as to lure such a high-level expert, and how did the Lingmiao realm, already devastated at the end, manage to escape? The Wan Miao Gate, likely forged in the final moments, was also a mystery. How it was made, Lin Moyu couldn't imagine. In the end, he could only infer that everything revolved around that object. His undead servants finally made a discovery. Upon leaving the plaza, they encountered spatial turbulence. The void outside the plaza was already shattered, filled with chaotic and broken space. The undead traversed this chaos, teleporting again and again, and at last detected several relatively stable areas of space. Through his bond with them, Lin Moyu quickly fixed their positions about 3 million li away. Still, the void between himself and the servants was so broken and turbulent that even the Tao of space couldn't open a passage. If Lin Moyu tried to cross himself, he might be warped to some unknown place. He then unfurled the projection of the Great Thousand World, intending to use the space Tao within to teleport. Instantly, the space around the plaza collapsed. The realm was dead and could no longer withstand the impact of his world's projection. Taos floated up from the domain, all of them shattered, lingering only as fragments around the broken edges. From these, Lin Moyu could faintly sense the core of the Lingmiao realm, a core that was already near collapse and could take no more strain. He retracted the world's projection, which let the realm stabilize. Since forceful passage would not work, his only option was to analyze his current location. It dawned on him, this plaza and the surrounding void constituted the very core of the Lingmiao realm. Unlike the 5 realms, the core here contained no divine runes or formations, just a plaza. Amazing, the realm core is actually like this, he mused. It was his first time seeing the core of another domain and he was intrigued. He crouched, touching the ground to sense the plaza. Gradually, he sensed vitality. The plaza actually had a pulse, and each one released considerable power like a beating heart, maintaining life. Though now broken, with only the faintest beat left, it was this remnant pulse that had kept the Lingmiao realm from disintegrating completely across the ages. At this point, the Lingmiao realm had become a vegetable. Its heart still beat, but it had lost consciousness. The moment that pulse stopped, the entire realm would collapse. Lin Moyu gently sent out his will, careful not to startle the core's extreme fragility. Soon his consciousness enveloped the entire plaza and spread outward. The shattered void outside the plaza reflected how badly the core was damaged. His will threaded through this broken space, expanding bit by bit. He saw several stable areas of space, then extended his sense to other parts of the Lingmiao realm. Though badly shrunken and battered, the domain's breadth was still considerable. His soul power was quickly draining, but the world tree replenished it without end. He soon sensed not only the core, but also the worlds outside, which had shrunk many times due to the domain's damage. He perceived the myriad spirits pavilion he last visited, which is actually a world itself, or, more accurately, the most important part of a world. That world was destroyed, save for the pavilion's area. The pavilion had survived because its region was stabilized by Holy Spirit level experts who reinforced it during the disaster. He sensed several other surviving worlds, all like the pavilion, once hosting transcendent cultivators whose power enabled some of their worlds to persist. All other worlds, lacking such pioneers, were wiped out. By channeling his will via the core, Lin Moyu came to understand the general structure of the Lingmiao realm, the plaza at the center, and hundreds of independent spaces around it, each containing a Tao. Every Tao represented a cultivation path, mirrored in one or more worlds. As such, everyone in a given world cultivated the same Tao, likely spending their whole life unaware of others. Only upon reaching the highest levels would any realize the existence of other Taos. According to Wan Zongling, this was both the reason for the Lingmiao realm's rise and for its eventual fall. The Taos are not evident. Success stems from this, and so does failure. 4200. 4200. Chapter 4200. Smash it. Lin Moyu didn't need to go to other areas anymore. Once he discovered he was standing right on the realm core, he could sense the entire domain through it. This method wouldn't work in the 5 world realms, those are simply too vast. His soul power couldn't even sense a 10,000th of it. The former Lingmiao domain was also large, but now only a small portion remained, allowing him to sense the whole domain. This greatly simplified matters. Though soul sensing wasn't as effective as observing with one's own eyes, it revealed different things. Using his senses, Lin Moyu surveyed the domain again and again. Meanwhile, his undead servants were not idle. They found most of the voids storing remnant Taos. There were 699 spaces, meaning there had once been 699 Taos in the Lingmiao domain, far fewer than in the 5 world realms. The fewer the Taos, the simpler the domain, the lower its limit, and the weaker its power. So the Lingmiao domain could never compare to the 5 world realms. In Lingmiao, even a saint spirit, what others called a transcendent, at best equaled an eternal of the 5 world realms. Lingmiao domain, in the wider chaos, wasn't even among the weaker realms. There are domains even more feeble. In those 699 spaces, most DAOs had already collapsed, a few were remnants, barely hanging on at the edge of destruction. If not for the core, they'd have been gone already. The core itself wasn't maintaining this by its own strength. Lin Moyu sensed a strand of energy from outside the domain. This mysterious force was all that kept the core alive. Finally found it. If I'm not wrong, this energy strand is just what those strong ones are always seeking. It's because of that thing the Lingmiao domain managed to run here, reforged the Myriad Marvel's gate, and kept the domain intact because it used that thing. Lin Moyu sharpened his senses to the limit, trying to trace the energy's source. It was extremely faint, flickering in and out, making it hard to find. He wove a net of intent, searching layer by layer. He sensed the force's arrival as it pierced the void and entered the realm core, moving quickly and warily in the shattered space, making its origin hard to track. He failed many times in a row. In this process, Lin Moyu noticed a pattern. Every 10 minutes, the force reappeared, always in a different spot, but it always entered the core to sustain it. He could sense a bit of its properties. It had obviously been refined, and held faint traces of chaos energy. Lin Moyu guessed this thing was drawing chaos energy in from chaos itself, refining it, and using it to keep the core alive. Unbothered by his previous failures, Lin Moyu kept up the search. If 10 tries wasn't enough, he'd do 100 or 1,000. He believed he'd find it eventually. Unconcerned about the heavy drain on his soul power, he cast a wide net with his intent. Finally, his efforts paid off. Though the force appeared randomly, there was a pattern. Each appearance circled the core, never straying away nor drawing close. With dozens of tests, Lin Moyu mapped out its route and could predict the next site. Once he locked in the spot, he zeroed in, focusing all his strength where the power next appeared. With his soul force, he forged a giant eye, staring intently at that patch of space. Through it, time slowed to a crawl, every subtle shift laid bare. Time, through the eye, slowed by at least 1,000-fold, everything gradually revealed. At last, the force surfaced. Open, Lin Moyu shouted in his mind. The instant it showed, his soul force erupted, shattering that part of the void. It might jar the already fragile core, but he couldn't be concerned about that now. He had to get the object. His instincts screamed this thing would be useful to him. Even if it wasn't, anything capable of sustaining a domain's life had to be extraordinarily powerful. He had to find a way to grab it, otherwise, why go through the trouble to access the Myriad Marvel's gate in perfect form? If not for this, there'd be no meaning. The void shattered, the object hidden within that had been keeping the realm core alive finally surfaced for just an instant, but enough for Lin Moyu to see it clearly. It's that. Who would have thought the object keeping the core alive was the Myriad Marvel's tablet? Lin Moyu was surprised. He hadn't expected the thing sustaining the domain was the Myriad Marvel's tablet. On reflection, it wasn't so odd. The first thing he saw when he entered had been the tablet. Looking back now, the best preserved thing in the entire domain was this tablet. The tablet flashed, a strand of power shot out, weaving through the void, entering the core, then the tablet vanished again. Lin Moyu didn't chase. It would be pointless. Now that he knew what it was and the pattern of its movement, he didn't have to worry about it escaping. The key isn't the tablet itself, but what's inside. Lin Moyu murmured to himself. He'd handled the tablet before and knew it contained the secret techniques of every faction in the Lingmiao domain. By his experience, there were only two ways to get something from the tablet. 1. Refine it and make it recognize you as master, then you'd get everything inside. 2. Simply smash the thing and take whatever's within. The second method sounded impractical. The material was so tough it survived world-shattering wars undamaged. How could it simply be smashed? But Lin Moyu did have a way. He was sure the Scourge Scepter could handle it. As for the first method, that was the truly unreliable one to Lin Moyu. To fully comprehend all the tablet's techniques, even he wasn't confident. Better just smash it. Thinking it over, Lin Moyu made his decision. It was the cleanest, simplest route. He didn't need the tablet itself, only its contents. Whether smashing the tablet would destroy the entire Lingmiao domain wasn't his concern. He figured it was already a miracle the domain had lasted this long. No point dragging things on. There were surely many domains like Lingmiao in chaos. If this one collapsed, so be it. If a heritage line ended, it ended. None of that compared to tangible gains. Having made up his mind, Lin Moyu began to prepare. He continued tracking the tablet's appearances, getting more accurate in his predictions, intent on striking just once, and ending it in one blow. He didn't want to make repeated attempts. He wanted decisive victory. He began to send out runes, arranging a formation at the selected site.